Welcome back, everybody. Welcome back to post-episode issues, the Game of Thrones Season 1, Episode 4, Cripples, Bastards, and Broken Things. Broken Things, Joe. Which one do you fit into? I'm a bastard. I'm a bastard. I am whatever the Massachusetts...
I'm a cripple and a broken thing, I guess.
Yeah, a little bit. With your ankle, you're kind of a broken thing and a little bit of a cripple with it. But I am a bastard from Massachusetts. I don't know what we call myself, like Phil Lobster or something. Whatever. But everybody, welcome to post-episode issues. If this is your first time joining with us, please...
No, I think it would be Phil Cod.
Cod?
Yeah, because of Cape Cod.
Clam chowder? Something like that, maybe?
New England, right?
Phil
Clam chowder.
So if this is your first time with us, please hit that subscribe button if you haven't already, and please share your thoughts of Game of Thrones Season 4, Cripples, Bastards, and Broken Things. We're going to try to keep as unspoilery for what's to happen in the future, but accidents do happen. This isn't ironclad. The show has been out for X amount of years, so we might slip up from time to time. So if this is your very first time watching Game of Thrones, tread lightly. We'll be as careful as humans can be here. So this is a long recap. We like to really get into it and talk about everything that happened. So let's get right into talking about Game of Thrones. But if you're watching us live, jump in the chat room and share your thoughts. If you're watching this later, you can email me at igotissuesman@gmail.com or tweet me at igotissuesman or tweet him at dirtylocks. Mm-hmm. You can also jump in the chat room or the comment section below. So please, we'd love to hear what you thought of this episode. Broken Things. Ren's a broken thing. And I'm definitely... I guess I'm a little bit of a broken thing as well. I have broken parts of my body, but I'm more eloquently a bastard. But who's not a bastard? Bran Stark, who we start our episode off with here, and he's dreaming, and we know he's dreaming because, well, he's walking, and we know that's not real.
Yeah, last we saw him, he was waking up from a coma, so don't think that he's actually walking around.
Yeah, he's probably not walking.
He recovers quick.
He does. They gave him some mutagen from the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, and he mutated walking things. And speaking of that, thank you, Joe. Splinter is coming. So we see him practicing his bow and arrow, and a raven flies in, and he kind of approaches it, but it flies off into a crypt as it's continuously cawing, caw caw caw. So Bran enters the crypt. That's probably my best of
Arrested Development doing your chicken there. Am I the only person in this family that knows how to do a damn chicken?
Ghetto to Duke Chronic. Duke Chronic, welcome to the room. Good to have you guys with us live here. And so he follows the raven into the crypt, and it's just continuously cawing as he makes direct eye contact with it. But it doesn't just have two eyes, Joes. It has three.
It has three. One right in the forehead.
Craziness. It's like the three-titted girl in Total Recall, except eyes, and a raven, and nothing like it, but it's pretty fucking cool. I just mean that they're both cool. It was really fucking cool. And he wakes up because he's dreaming, and in what is the worst way you can wake up from a three-eyed raven dream? To see Theon and old Nan. It's just a bad situation waking up in that kind of context with those two.
Yeah. Right into it.
The crow?
Yeah, please bring me back the crow.
Yeah, I'll take a crow. I'll definitely take a crow over those two. And he wakes up, and Theon enters the room, and old Nan says the little lord's been dreaming again. And Theon, who likes to show that he has the ability to have power over other people, you have guests. I don't really want to see anyone, says Bran, and he says, I was cooped up all day with nothing but this old bat for company. I'd go mad anyways. And anyways, you don't have a choice. Rob's waiting. I don't want to go. He says it like a wise ass. I don't want to go. Well, neither do I, but Rob's Lord of Winterfell, which means he does what he says. And here we go, guys, our introduction to the one and only Hodor! Come over here. Pick up Bran. Hodor.
Yeah, who needs a horse? You got Hodor.
It's very true. He is.
Well, who needs legs? I should say, not horse.
Now, did you fall in love with Hodor at first sight?
Nah,
Yes.
of course. Who doesn't love Hodor?
It's hard.
Who doesn't Hodor? Hodor.
And it's worth mentioning as well. I kind of hope, I don't know where it's gonna go, but I kind of hope this three-eyed raven stuff comes back. I have a feeling it might.
Well, I guess the real question is when you encounter a Hodor, do you go through it?
You have to go through that Hodor. There's no doubt. You knock before you go through that Hodor. You knock 3 times. So we cut over at this point to our good friend Tyrion Lannister sitting in front of Robb and Master Luwin inside Winterfell Castle. Now, Robb's kind of talking mad shit here to Tyrion, just giving him the fucking vibe.
He's extremely rude.
Really rude. And my question is, a big question I have, and this is about the end of the episode before we get to it, but if Catelyn does what Catelyn does at the end of this episode, why didn't Robb just take him in the chains right there?
Yeah, seriously.
Yep. She wasn't going to do that. That was opportunistic.
She should not have done that.
Robb wasn't apprised of that situation. She came up. I mean, they found out this was his knife in King's Landing. You know, she didn't send a crow to him to say, "This is what everybody behind. Who's behind it? Take him if you see him." You know.
Right, and in a way, as we'll get there to the end, you have to figure that maybe Catelyn acted a little rash in that situation, whereas Robb at least is trying the best he can to uphold by the laws until there is actual proof of anything, real concrete proof that they have, other than just it's because he hasn't even heard the stuff about the knife yet, has he? He probably has.
They met in the Godswood, didn't they, to like talk about we're under threat. Look, they tried to kill the boy again. Me and Roderick are going down to King's Landing.
Right, but then when they go down to King's Landing, Catelyn finds out and Ned find out through Littlefinger that the knife was Tyrion's.
Right.
So Robb doesn't know that information yet, I guess.
Where she finds out in the episode, he might have already left Winterfell by the time she even finds out that was.
Oh no, he definitely had at that point. Yeah, exactly, Ren. Tyrion is like, what the fuck's going on? And that's what I was saying. Was what I wrote down in my notes. Robb's talking mad shit, and Tyrion's the type of guy that will give you respect, but if you try to talk shit with Tyrion, he's gonna give it right the hell back to you, because he'll always be respectful but a little bit of a wise ass. But if he finds you're giving him shit, he can give. There's no one in the Seven Kingdoms that can talk shit with Tyrion.
It's beyond most others.
And as far as that goes, he's also the son of one of the most powerful lords in the kingdom. So
I was just about to say, if anyone can talk shit with Tyrion, it's Tywin. If anyone can keep up with him, it's Tywin. And
the only person that can really keep up with him. Even Cersei can't keep up with him. All her shit talk.
She's not as smart.
No, and her shit talk always reverts back to, "You're an ugly little imp, and you killed my mother. You fucking little cocksucker."
Blah blah blah.
Hurt you somehow. It all comes down to like the base insults and shit. Like there's no actual eloquence to her insults or poeticness to her venom or anything. It's just all just sharp barbs that. Tyrion's way beyond that kind of thinking.
Now, Ghetto Toad has like a really important comment that we need to get to here. Hodor! Yeah, that's right. That's the most important comment we've had. And Renwood also has an interesting point. I'm surprised they didn't just establish this right here and right now. He wasn't offered bread and salt. They never offered him the he did say maybe they would have after the point that we get in a second. Tyrion says, "I received a slightly warmer welcome my last visit. Any man in the Night's Watch is welcome in Winterfell," he says. "Any man in the Night's Watch, but not me, boy." That's when Tyrion starts giving it back to him. He goes, "Boy, I'm not your boy, Lannister. I'm Lord of Winterfell while my father's away. Then you might learn a lord's courtesy, you little bitch."
Right, where's my bread and salt? The fuck?
Yeah.
Where's my bread and salt? You're just being a little prick there, Rob. Yeah.
You don't have to, and you're not hiding your emotions well too. In the context when you should keep him close there, keep him comfortable there till you find out everything, and then you have him right where you want him.
Right. Rob shouldn't play poker.
Yeah, no, Rob's not a poker player.
And not a good poker player at all. He's probably the worst of all the Stark.
I got a feeling none of the Stark kids are good poker players at all. They all wear their emotional on their sleeve. They're
In the beginning,
well,
yes.
and none of I think Ari would have the most chance to become.
Yeah,
a
that's what I'm
poker
saying.
player.
Arya's probably the best one of the group.
But none of the others could even, like Jon. He could never be a poker player either.
John, I'd love to play poker.
With you know, like Rob. No way.
You would have to tell
Theon?
everyone what his cards were.
Yeah,
'Cause
yeah.
It's honorable.
Theon could play poker, I'm sure, but I don't think he'd be very good. He'd lose a lot of money doing it.
Ned teaches them poker is wrong. It's honorable to not bluff, to always show your bluff.
Right, exactly.
So Tyrion says it's true as Hodor enters carrying Bran, and I gotta say right up off the bat, Tyrion shows some real concern for Bran, and he says, "Hello, Bran. Do you remember what happened?" And Master Lewin, who adds to the prickness here, goes, "He has no memory of that day. Curious," and I think Tyrion thinks Bran's hiding something. Thinks that it's curious that you don't remember. What the fuck you hiding? Show me the shit, boy. Show me the shit.
Right.
And Rob goes, "Why are you here? Well, your champion." This is a funny line by Tyrion where he makes Hodor kneel down so he can make eye contact. It's just a funny moment that I wonder if Peter Dinklage just put in there because it was just funny. He goes, could you have your charming companion be so kind to kneel? Because my neck is beginning to hurt. I just wrote in my notes so much dink there. It just felt like a Dinklage moment. Yeah, especially having seen Bastard Executioner and just seeing how Dink just has that kind of humorous thing. And then he says, he goes, "Do you like to ride, Bran?" And he ends up giving him schematics so he can build a saddle to ride. And they go, "The boy's lost his legs." And he goes, "Anybody, even a cripple can ride." And he says, "I'm not a cripple." Similar
then I'm not a dwarf. My dad will be so happy to hear you say.
Yep, exactly. Similar to what he said to Jon Snow, and Jon Snow was like all pissy about being a bastard. Tyrion gives it right to you. He doesn't give a fuck.
Yeah, right. You are what you are. Don't
right, start embracing it now, kid, because it's going to be a lifetime.
Yeah, it's only going to get harder if you keep denying it.
Right.
Dew Chronic says he was offered a bed but wanted the hoe house. I'm sure Tyrion was staying where Roz was. Curious at the whorehouse. Yeah, I'm sure he was. And that was a big part of it. We get into a really funny scene with him and Theon in a second here. So he gives him the schematics, and Rob says, "Is this kind of some kind of trick?" Yeah.
I just got a tender spot in my heart.
It's my plan to get him thrown from a horse.
Yeah, it's we didn't finish the job. I got to come up with this contraption to throw the little fucker from a horse. Hopefully he'll hit a rock on the way down.
Yeah, we want to make him more cripple.
Yeah.
we want a quadriplegic instead of paraplegic. We really screwed the pooch here. And he says, as Joe said, one of the best lines in the first season here. "I have a tender spot in my heart for cripples, bastards, and broken things."
It's probably one of my favorite lines in the whole story.
And it's not even just, it's an ongoing thread for the entire episode, not just in this particular storyline. It also connects very much with the Daenerys storyline with Jorah. On a rewatch, I kind of connected where Jorah's a broken thing, and she's taking concern out of him. It's matched up in a lot of different places throughout the episode. It's very, very interesting, and it's a great line and great episode title. And another, just before we get too far here, just another amazing fucking episode of Game of Thrones. This show continuously builds this plot in this first season, and it's awesome doing a rewatch. Ren Wenwood says, if Tyrion can make a saddle for a cripple to ride a horse, he can also make a saddle for other animals."
Well, I'm sure there's plenty of schematics already written at King's Landing that have.
I don't know what you could be hinting at, but maybe that sounds very, very, very interesting for the future, Ren Wenwood. I like where your mind's at right there. So Tyrion says, "Spare me your false courtesies," because after Rob's like, "What's the trick? What kind of magic are you doing here?" as we said, and Tyrion's like, "Fine, spare me your false courtesies. I know you don't really want to offer me a place to stay for the night. There's a brothel outside the walls. I'm gonna get to the whorehouse.
Rob, Hodor to walk through."
But before he leaves, who's there to greet him but Theon Greyjoy? Oh gosh.
Oh, another broken thing.
Another broken thing. And he says, "Oh, you have."
He is not nice to this broken thing.
He says if you like redheads, ask for Raws. And Tyrion should have said, been there, done that, Greyjoy. But anyways,
Yes, he should.
Tyrion says, come to see me off, Greyjoy. You're kind. You don't seem to like Lannister. Your master doesn't seem to like Lannisters. He's not my master. Well, of course not. Ha ha ha. What happened here? Where's Lady Stark? Tyrion basically probes, and he's like, she's not in Winterfell. Where'd she go? And this is where Greyjoy says he calls her my lady, which is important to mention that Theon has made himself feel, and we're going to talk about this for a second, at least briefly. Theon's made himself feel like he is part of the house, but like he's another son. But he's not. He's a spoil
that's
of
the way
war.
Ned always wanted him to feel, and I think Catelyn wanted him to feel more part of the family than Jon Snow.
Right.
So, of course, Theon is going to start thinking that as well. You know, and no matter what kind of retarded shit Theon has done, he's never going to be punished for most of it. Like, you know, I don't know.
He doesn't have to live up to the standards of the kids.
Right.
He's always going to be a notch above Snow.
Right. Absolutely. So it explains some of his attitude. And he's in Tyrion, who just calls it like it is, just calls him out on it and says, your loyalty to your captors is touching. Tell me how you think Balon Greyjoy would feel if he could see his only surviving son turn lackey. And honestly, what he would probably want, Greyjoy would want, he would have wanted him to try to kill Ned Stark or die trying, because that's the Iron Way. Let's talk about the Iron Way for a second. The Iron Way would be like if Joe had $5.50 and he wanted to give it to me and was like, here, take $5.50, and I decided to stab him, rip up the $5 bill, and take the 50 cents, just so I could steal it from him. That's basically the Iron Way.
No, you take the dollar bill too.
But what I'm saying is I'd destroy that $5 just to steal 50 cents from you.
Than rather be given anything, yeah.
Rather than given anything.
Take what you want. What his father really would have liked him to do was to kill Tyrion right then and there.
Probably.
That's a Greyjoy thing too. Kill him, throw him in the fucking pig fucking stables there.
Kill them all and take their shit.
Right.
Great point, Ren. Tyrion is excellent, and I'm going to say excellent. She said great, but is excellent at the divide and conquer. Tyrion knows how to say the right thing at the right time to.
Yeah, Theon tries to get a barb at him. He's like, my father's fleet certainly burned down all your dad's fleet or something like that. And Tyrion's just like, yeah, you did it in the middle of the night or you did it like a bunch of fucking retards. It was a sneak attack bullshit move or something cowardly. Or
he says, I still remember seeing my father's fleet, or my father's fleet, talking about burning in Lannisport. This is Tyrion talking. I believe your uncles were responsible. And Theon says, must have been a pretty sight. Nothing prettier than watching, and this is Tyrion back to him, nothing prettier than watching sailors burn alive. Yes, a great victory for your people, but shame how it turned out. Just so condescending. And Theon goes, we were outnumbered 10-1.
Yeah,
and
stupid war to start then, you frickin' idiots.
Yeah, stupid rebellion, you idiot. I suppose your father realized that when his brothers died in battle.
And his sons.
Now here you are as his enemy's squire. And he goes, and Theon, all he can say is careful, imp. Like, what's he threatening him with? The two soldiers would kill him in a second.
It's because Theon's got nothing but threats in him.
That's very true. Could you adjust me a little bit? I suddenly got really loud on that end. So Tyrion says, that's better. That's much better. Tyrion says, I offended you, which I don't think he really means. He just suddenly realizes, I don't feel like being this much of a dick right now. But forgive me, it's been a rough morning. Sure. Don't despair. And then he throws him a coin and says, your next romp with Roz is on me. Tyrion is the best.
There was something else to that too. He alluded to how he would be there first or something.
Yeah, how he was going to Roz right now. Well, yeah, he had told him to go ask for Roz.
But I don't know. There was some line there that was like a.
Yeah. But I'll have already been there. Right. Yeah.
Just anything Tyrion can do to poke in there. No pun. No pun. Oh, well, anything Tyrion can do to poke in there. Ghetto Toad says Tyrion must have some major STDs. I'm shocked his cock hasn't fallen off quite yet.
I'm sure there's a sheepskin house out there making a little coin.
We don't see Tyrion's little Meister that's always following him around with creams and potions and such. It's a special job that Tywin got him the finest guy in the whole Seven Kingdoms.
Maybe in this planet they don't have the STDs. It's all happy and fun.
He gets special chemicals flown in from Dorne that handle that. They're used to that kind of behavior down in Dorne.
Cornish wine is strong enough to cure all STDs.
Yeah, it can kill anything. Ghetto Toad says they didn't have rubbers back in those days. Leave them hoes alone. Yep, they were like sailors back in there. So here we go to Castle Black, and speaking of a new character, we meet someone else new here that becomes a big part of our story in this particular episode. And yes, and as we go here, Jon Snow is giving the group fighting lessons. Sir Alistair comes out, and Joe, could you adjust me again? I'm getting loud again. It's fucking with I can hear myself talking to myself. It's weird. Alistair marches in with a new recruit, and who is it, Joe? It is none other than Samwell Tarly. Oh, Sam.
Oh, Sam.
Love Sam.
What in 7 hells is that? They'll need 8 hells to fill him in.
Hi, everybody.
Oh, you're gonna do it. You'll be our Sam.
Your brother.
My name is Sam.
Do you like cream puffs? I like cream puffs. I'm sure we'll have lots of cream puffs here on the wall.
He's come to take the black or the black pudding. They're not sure. And
I love Sam Tarly. I love him in the books so much more than in the. They really fucked him over in the shows.
You don't like the way they did him portrayed him in the shows, Joe?
No, they took some important stuff away from him. He's rather heroic in the books for someone who's so non-heroic.
Renwood asks, hasn't Tyrion already given Roz that necklace from the last time? Yeah, and I think that's one of the things that they kind of skip over, the fact that, and that's why I said Tyrion should have probably said to him, I was already with Roz, dumbass. That was the first thing I did when I came to Winterfell.
Yeah.
There should have been some line about that.
She was the first in a line of 20 girls before I came over and ate dinner next to you, you know?
So Sam he's come to take the black pudding, and he says, Alistair says, Thorne says, you couldn't be any worse than you look. Let's see what you can do. So Rast, I think his name is, whoops his ass, starts basically spanking him. Sam is pretty much a joke as a fighter. He is, I hate to say, he's where I would be, what the kind of person I would probably be if I had to take the black. I'm just getting my ass kicked in this situation. I mean, I would fight back. I wouldn't be this bad. And he's just like, Joe, could you give me an I yield, please no more?
I yield. Yeah, it was, but and he's not a fighter. He's got other strengths. Fighting's not one of them, and nobody in this world can see that. Nobody sees it in him. Even like his mother could only protect him for so long. Couldn't instill in his father like how good or important it would be to have a son with his strengths. He just, according to them, he has none.
All you can do, says Ghetto Toad, is pray to the Seven and hope. If you're Sam, or the one true God, or the Lord of Light, or
he's like Jon in a lot of ways that he didn't do anything to be forced to go to the wall. I mean, he kind of didn't do stuff to be forced to end up getting forced to go to the wall, but neither one of them did like crimes or rapers or murderers or thieves or anything like that. They both went there. One went there because he's exiled from his home for no good reason, and the other one went there because he had nowhere else to go and thought it was noble. Like they're both there for reasons that nobody else is at the wall for.
And we're going to talk about it and get to Sam's big scene, and what I did a little bit of research and actually a recording of him doing the monologue that he does later in the episode is what got him the part. He sent in a recording of him doing what happened with him and his father. And I think it's at that moment in the episode, just to fast forward a little bit, is when Jon decides exactly what you just said, Joe, that him and Sam are the same, and that he needs to not just protect him because his honor feels like he can't let a coward die, but he needs to protect him because they share something. They share some sort of bond.
Right.
An understanding. He's like, oh, that sounds like something Catelyn would do. and probably did. So Jon ends up eventually saying enough after Sam's getting his ass kicked, and he gets in Thorne's face, and the bastard's like, looks like the bastard's in love, and then he goes, let's turn this into an exercise. You three try to get at Lord Snow's Lady Piggy. Let's make Miss Lady Piggy squeal, and the only problem is you got to get past the bastard. And Jon's like, you sure you guys want to do this? And I think it's Gren that says, nope.
Yeah. No, we don't want to do this. We know you're going to hurt us all.
Yep.
But he's making us. It's either you hurt us or he hurt us. So let's do this.
But do you know who looks like they want to get in on the action against Jon Snow? This Rast. He thinks he can take Jon Snow. He's got that look on his face like I can do it. I can beat Jon. I can do it. And
he kind of knows that if it could only take one lucky strike, and the only way he's going to be able to do it is if everybody goes and attacks him at once. He's already been embarrassed by Jon enough. He's just sick of getting embarrassed by it. Jon makes everybody else look bad, and everybody else look like a murderer, rapist, and thief.
And he ended up getting one good shot in this situation too. And Rinren would evil stepmother Catelyn, and the whole she would be a good evil stepmother in a Cinderella type thing. Duke Chronic says, the people that go to the wall, usually the children who have no inheritance, 5, 6, and 7, the 5th and 6th and 7th child that have absolutely no inheritance and want to, like Benjen. And, like you knew Ace Stark, at that point Benjen's like, that's an honorable thing to do, to go to the wall and fight for centuries, because there have been, honorable men that go up there too, people like Mormont too, as well, to be these, and Thorne as well. Or I actually don't know where Thorne comes from. What his family upbringing is. You might know more about that than I, Joe. So he has
not too much more. Not that I can think of now.
So the three guys attack Jon, trying to get to Sam. Jon kicks all their asses, but they get a couple shots in, and it comes to a finish, and he's got Gren, and Gren's like, I yield, and Thorne's like, we're done for the day. Go clean the armory. That's all you're good for. Won't give Jon even the littlest bit of respect. Because I guess he's figured out, or one, he just doesn't like Jon Snow, and two, he can't really teach him anything. So the only thing he can try to teach him is humility.
Yep, and how to be a dick 101.
Right, right. How to be the coach of the Cobra Kai's 101.
Exactly.
So Pip goes over to Gren. Pip and Gren have a great relationship. I love these two, and it really their relationship starts getting more established right here. He goes, well fought, and Gren's like, piss off. And then Sam goes over, did he hurt you to Jon? And Jon's I had worse. I grew up with Catelyn. And he goes, you can call me Sam if you want. My mother called me Sam. And Jon's like, what?
Yeah.
It's not going to get easier. You know you're going to have to defend yourself. And Gren goes, why didn't you get up and fight? And Sam says he wanted to, and they're like, why not? And why didn't he, Joe? Why didn't he?
Because he's not a fighter.
But what specifically does he say? He says,
he's craven.
He is craven. But he says, I'm a coward. But I like craven better. But this is our first episode that we get the term craven in, I believe. Later in the episode from Pyzel, I think, is our first Craven reference of the show.
I like it.
like the first. Yes, Ren, like the first guy.
Jon's not just. He has anger in his voice as well as like sympathy and empathy.
Yeah, he's more angry here. He becomes sympathetic later in the episode.
Right. What the fuck are you doing here? You don't belong here. You shouldn't be here. You're only going to get yourself killed. You're going to get someone else hurt. Look at what they're doing to me now because I give two shits for some reason. So he's a little pissed at him too.
The wall is no place for cowards.
Right.
And he's just like, this is the weirdest line I think Sam delivers, like in the entire series. Just the way he says it. He looks at him and smiles. He goes, "You're right. I'm sorry. I just wanted to thank you." It's just weird the way he says it, and then he just walks off in shame. But he says it so uplifting
because he knows the one good person that he's come across so far at the wall. Even that person's pissed at him. So he's now coming to grips with. He thought, okay, I'm being forced. We know, we get into his backstory in a couple of scenes, so we know that he's forced up here to the wall. It's
Poor
supposed
guy.
to be kind of an honorable thing too,
Hmm.
you know.
Not for
So-
someone like not for someone like him. And
Enough. Yeah, he's so far south that those people only look at it like it's probably a prison.
exactly. The people. You're right, because the people that live in the north or live at least somewhere surrounding that area, or at least somewhat, even probably as north as like the Vale area or something like that. At least they can have some sort of connection, see the wall sometimes, understand it. The people way south are probably like, screw this place. The wall's just a prison. It's like
Or a myth.
Australia and the English. Original Australia. Not that I think Australia it's like that, but I mean back when Australia was just a prison colony. Or Siberia, or something like
Right.
that. Siberia is a better example. So the wall's no place for cowards, and then Gren gets upstairs, a bloody coward. The people saw us talking to him. Now they'll think we're cowards too. Pip says, "You're too stupid to be a coward. You're too stupid to be a Glenn can't make a Gren can't make a comeback." I said Glenn. I've been watching The Walking Dead too much. And Pip says, "Quick now, before the summer's over." And then they chase each other and play a little bit of grab ass as they try to enjoy this formation of a brotherhood as much as possible. And you kind of can see at least the three of them and Jon, really starting to form a real brotherhood of some sort. Lord Tarly is embarrassed of his son. Ren says he is just resigned to his fate. I guess that makes sense, and that's kind of what you were saying too, Joe.
He's more than embarrassed of his son. He's darn right freaking ashamed of him. He's a slight on the entire house. Yeah, he can't have this guy at all take over his
now
house.
Now that we were back, I want to say something that got mentioned in episode 1, I believe, when Robert was talking about fighting in the rebellion. Where the House Tarly must have been on the side of the Targaryens in that, because he says when he's talking about one of his first kills, I believe he says a Tarly boy.
Yes.
Yeah, I remember him talking about
Yep.
Tarly.
He kills a Tarly. Tarly was on the Targaryen side, and is a vassal of Tywin, I think, at this point.
At this point in time in the show, and back in the Robert's Rebellion, they were on. Were they still kind of banner houses of House Lannister?
House Targaryen, I think.
House Targaryen.
A lot of the lesser houses they weren't able to wait it out like Tywin was.
Right.
So
Right.
even if Tywin was abstaining, most of his lesser houses in the Westlands there were still going to war. We're still raising arms on one side or the other.
Let's jump in the chat room for a second. Do Chronic. Lord Tarly is a battle commander, so he has an image to uphold. And Ren Redwood says, "Can you imagine Sam in The Walking Dead?" Oh, yeah, I can. It's Father Gabriel, Eugene, Father Gabriel, one of those kind of helpless people. But at least I guess Eugene's a better example because they're both smart and they both probably can help out in other ways, but just completely useless when it comes to fighting anything. And Sam Ghetto Toad says Sam was lucky Jon was on the wall. Otherwise, he just wouldn't have even made it a knight. He would have got private piled. Spoiler alert for Full Metal Jacket. He would have totally got the private pile treatment.
Yeah. Gabriel, Meryn Trent equal Gabriel.
Meryn fucking Trent. Sorry.
Right? Is that the one that's in the basement?
Yeah, problem. So as they chase each other around, they play grab ass. So here we go over to Daenerys, and this is another Daenerys episode that I'll come out and say I enjoy the Daenerys stuff in this episode. Daenerys and the Horde arrive in Dothraki homeland. It's lots of beautiful grass, city of green. You get to see a kind of a cool horse monument gate of two horses meeting each other, and it's Vice Dothraki, I believe it's what
Vice Dothraki, all the way over here, way in the way in the east, northeast, right here. And when her story started out all the way in over here in Pentos, I believe.
Right. So that's I was just going to point.
They've gone quite a distance. They've basically gone almost the full length of Westeros away from where she started. She's way the fuck out here.
Now,
on the other side of the Dothraki Sea.
Do they explain how long that is, or are they more detailed with how long that is in the books?
Yeah, it's long.
How long? How many did it take them? Months and months?
Yes. Yes, it takes. Well, they raid the whole way out there. They've like all these little villages and other Dothraki columns and khals that they've come across. They've warred with. Like it's months. It's months. The other thing, King's Landing here. Yeah, right here to Winterfell took a month, and that's at least twice the distance, basically. So
We've got some big thank yous for Joe for the map, and I'm gonna thank you too. I love the map. I actually started to point at my screen like I could point at the map. I was gonna ask you a question by pointing on my right there, like da 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 da.
It's quite the distance. It's
So
the whole map.
So before we get too into Danny, I just want to make a point that I think Ren said, but where we'll track this through the episode. Sam is a broken thing, absolutely a broken thing. So Daenerys, who is also
And in his father's eyes, he's a bastard.
Probably, he wishes.
And a cripple.
Joe, small adjustment again or whatever. Do adjust my place. So Daenerys and the Horde arrive in the Dothraki homeland. Perfect. Lots of grass, city of green, and the horse monument. And we get a very interesting. But why all of a sudden now it's doing it again? Weird. Jorah, Danny, and Viserys have a little bit of a conversation. Jorah introduces it as the home of the city of the Horse Lords. And Viserys a pile of mud and shit. Twigs. Is this the best these fucking savages can do?
Oh, he hates it. He hates it. This isn't a city. This is a bunch of tents, hovels. And you know what? It may be the Dothraki's greatest city, but basically this is a city of widows and old women and old men who don't raid anymore. They
go out to stud.
Yeah. This isn't really like a and they're going to see this council of ex Khaleesi or some shit like that to be blessed or whatever. It's like it's more of almost like a religious town because it's everybody's like all these khals, ex-widows and shit. You don't attack it. You don't raid Vase Dalthrak. It's the only city that they don't raid. And all khals are welcome there and all this shit. It's weird.
Very interesting.
Not Dothraki.
Very interesting stuff. For I love this. What Duke Croddock just said. Meryn fucking Trent actor was in Vikings last week, and he loved seeing Meryn fucking Trent getting his head hacked off by Floki. Oh, I'm gonna have to rewatch the episode now and pick him out. Thank you very much for that, man. Good tidbit. But yeah, absolutely, Joe. This is the place where the old warriors go, like a horse. After a horse has ridden all of its rides and done you put it out to stud. And this is where all of your wives, your old Khaleesi's and stuff all hang out. So yeah, it's not a city it's a city that they protect.
Right.
So it's the capital city of the Horde, but the series absolutely looks at this as a pile of shit and twigs, as he puts it. The best these savages can do.
Most people would look at this city like a pile of shits and twigs, and it's got this beautiful like statues out front to mark the gate of huge horses rearing up. And book does a great job describing its entranceway and everything. That those statues were dragged like millions of miles or some shit.
Beautiful statues. Definitely love the way those looked. Ghetto Toad says Danny's brother plays a good bell end. I love to hate him. Yeah, he plays a good fucking little prick ass. He's very perfect in this role, and he is the guy you love to hate the most in this first season.
Oh yeah.
You just love to hate this guy.
Oh yeah, he's definitely our one of our main antagonists.
Yeah.
He's her only antagonist, so.
And Daenerys says, they're my people now. You shouldn't call them savages. And he says, I'll call them what I'm like because they're my people. This is my fucking army. Drogo is marching in the wrong fucking way.
What's the matter, my series? Your legs don't hurt enough? Shut your mouth.
It's worth saying that they did give him back a horse. He is on a horse.
Yeah.
And I wrote in my notes, he rides
because it's been like I said, like that happened probably a month ago. Like that incident.
Walked 20 miles.
Yeah, like that was a long time ago.
Yeah, she had a fight to get him back that horse. She had to really pull some strings to get him that fucking horse. And he rides off. Like I wrote such a little bitch for Ruka Salt. Like, we said this before. I think we said this in the last episode, too. He could totally play Veruca Salt in something if they did some weird alternate version of adults playing Willy Wonka
Yeah,
characters.
he could play Jan Brady too.
Now, Daddy.
Yeah, I want it Oompa Loompa now.
Now! I want the Seventh Kingdoms now, Mommy! Give me the Iron Throne! Did
Oh, poor my series, man. He only wants what's due him and a little bit of his sister's titties.
The usurper is totally fucking with my shit. Yeah. What a whiny little prick. Oh god, he's the one we get our HBO sex scene that we're going to get into a little bit later here. So he rides off such a little bit. And then Danny has a very interesting talk with Jorah here. Danny says, if my brother was given the Dothraki army, could they conquer the Seven Kingdoms? Then first Jorah basically sounds like Ned Stark here. The Dothraki have never crossed the narrow sea. They don't trust any water. Their horses can't drink. They're never going over there. And Danny's like, no. But if they did, come on, hypothesis. We're playing the what-if game. If they did and he had an army of Dothraki, could he win? And he says King Robert is fool enough to meet them in open battle, but the men that are advising him, like Ned Stark, like Barristan, those people wouldn't let him do that. They would rain a hailstorm on the Dothraki. He doesn't go into that, but they would fight an entirely different kind of war. They wouldn't meet him, and they'd be like, Robert, you're not meeting him in battle. Shut the fuck up, or send Jaime out there or something to do it. You can sacrifice the Lannisters if you want. So Daenerys says, and you know these men, the people that would advise me, said I fought beside them once. And what he's talking about is the Greyjoy Rebellion. It's a big time where I believe he got his knighthood in the Greyjoy Rebellion. It's when a lot of the people that we know from Game of Thrones were fighting in a big fight together post Robert's Rebellion before the start of the Game of Thrones time.
Yep, and Tyrion refers to it earlier about the sailors and everything dying and burning alive and everything.
Exactly, and Jaime refers to it later in the episode as well. We get 3 references to it throughout the episode. When Jaime's talking about it with Ned's first mate there, I have his name written down later, Jaime and him bond about killing the Greyjoys and talking about how the Greyjoys aren't even human.
Do you remember Thoros of Myr going in with his sword burning?
Oh, I saw the young Greyjoy boy. It was like seeing something. He's like, oh, Theon's a good boy, and Jaime's like, I doubt it.
I doubt it. Doubt it very much.
Yeah, no Greyjoy's good. And Ren Redwood says, this guy makes Joffrey look smart, talking about the series. And Duke Chronic says, hey, he's the dragon. Shh. Hey, be quiet. You don't want to wake the dragon, Ren. Come on. And so Mormont says he fought besides these guys once, and now Ned Stark wants his head. He drove me from my land. And Daenerys goes, but dude, you sold slaves. You're lucky I'm your friend.
Right.
And Mormont looks with sadness in his eyes, and she goes, why? And he said, I had no money and an expensive wife. And Daenerys.
Well, and it's interesting to say, like, the conversation could have gone completely different because he wasn't taking the responsibility.
No.
They drove me from my lands. They exiled me. And Daenerys points out, you did that shit yourself, dude. Yep. You were selling stuff. And then he's like, oh yes, true. Yeah, that's right.
I had no money and an expensive wife, is what he said.
Right. If she had even had the slightest, difference of tone or anything, that conversation out of his mouth next would have been, let's go kill them and you can restore my house or something, because I didn't do anything. It was, very, very poor insight into his condition.
Yeah. Absolutely. And Duke Chronic and Ghetto get us the line from Ned from Jaime about Theon, like a shark on a mountaintop. Thanks, Duke Chronic and Ghetto. And so Mormont says
that's Theon inside the Stark family. It's like seeing a shark on a mountaintop. It doesn't. This is he's not an honorable, good person. He sticks out like a sore thumb. He's he's such an asshole compared to them all.
Exactly. So Daenerys asks where this wife is now, and Mormont says in another place with another man. And Dany, it's only a second, but Daenerys looks at him, gives him that, "Oh, you dumb boy, I'll help take care of you. You broken thing. Oh, you poor broken thing." And this is where we get Jorah as a broken thing. We learn about everything he's been through, that he's someone that can easily be led by his heart. That's, I think, by his cock, by his heart. Who know? We don't know yet. We don't know which one of it is yet.
Well, isn't that his that's his second wife?
I don't know that.
Isn't that his second wife? I'm pretty sure that's his second wife, and now he's in love with the Beggar King's little sister, who's married to a fucking cow with a 3-foot long fucking.
You think he's in love with her, Joe? I'm not too sure about that.
He's giving it. Yeah, he's definitely.
There.
I do not think that this is all just work here. He's spying on her right now. I think he was more than happy to get on his horse and travel the fucking kingdom or the non-kingdom.
Splinter is coming, Joe. Splinter is coming. Splinter is coming.
That's a good shirt, man. I should have kept that for myself.
Yeah, thank you, Joe. For everyone, I showed you earlier, but Joe got me this amazing T-shirt. Splinter is coming. That matches the Ninja Turtles. Sorry for if you're listening to the iTunes broadcast and couldn't visually see it. I forget that there's an audio cast as well. Thank you, guys. So here we go into our. It was like a Ren would. It was like a Sharknado on top of a wolf. So here we go into our softcore HBO porn moment. Viserys is in a hot tub of a tent being bathed by a Dorith or something like that is her name. Whatever. What the whore.
Every time I see scenes like this on these shows, like on Shameless or in HBO, all I can think of is the YouTube sketch, where all these different actors are explaining the scene, to someone on the phone, like, I got this, or someone that's sitting with, I got this great scene, First, this person takes me from behind, and then, he pulls my hair, and as I'm screaming, he slaps me in the face with his, and then his sister comes in, and all these people are like, oh my God, you got a job doing porn. They're like, no, it's HBO. Like, this is one of those scenes. This is definitely one of those shows.
The theme song should come in with da 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 da. It's HBO. Renwood says, yes, Joe. Dany looks like her. And Ghetto Toad, LOL.
His first wife or something.
Oh.
His first.
Or his second wife.
He must mention that at it's been a while since I listened to the first book and heard more about Jorah talk about his or when they get more into Jorah's past and stuff. It's interesting, and for anyone that just watches the show that's curious about the books, that's probably the best thing that the books do, where they expand on the back history of each character. You know a lot more about. But where you see them just as quickly, showing up, and you're supposed to understand a lot of things or assume a couple things.
Right, and that's where the books actually lose. Most people who I know who are like, yeah, I tried to read the books, I couldn't. It's because
I didn't want to know so much about what Sansa likes to eat.
It's overwhelming.
Yeah, it's not just there's so much information, and there's so much backstory to each character, each family, each house, each meal, like why they're eating certain things. Like, there's so much backstory written into it that throws a lot of people. They end up saying, like, okay, so I got to remember who's this guy, who's this person, who's that person. Oh, they mentioned these people from the past. I got to remember, and then one of the 4 people in any specific story might have something to do with the future, or they might just all just be like, filler for the book that just happens to be good backstory for the reader, and that ends up losing a lot of the people from reading the books.
I hear you there. I know I've talked to a few people that say that as well. Ren, excellent point, Ren. There's a lot of info I missed during this bath scene. She talks about seeing the dagger of dragon glass, a man who can change his face. I'll get into it in a second. But naming dragons get your jollies off.
No, yeah, he was. I liked this exchange. I liked their actual conversation.
Good, and this starts a habit of Game of Thrones of using these sex scenes to give you some of what you were just talking about, Joe. That's what we get in this scene. We get a lot. We get history, and we learn a lot of stuff. This is one of the few times I'll do this. We hear stuff here that is important later, and that they set up little things that. And they do that a lot on Game of Thrones, where listen to everything. Everything matters, and everything will sometimes come around. And this is one of those examples where she gets into it. So,
right, like when okay, yeah. So when they're talking about these, and he's talking about the throne room, and he's talking about the skulls, and he mentions how they were, huge ones and then little teeny ones. Let's put an asterisk here for me, and if we can remember. Later on when we do episode 10, I want to come back to this moment in 6 weeks.
Asterisks on the skulls?
Asterisks on the skulls of the dragons.
Okay, we'll get here. So she says, and I'm gonna actually read the lines.
Save that thought, Joe.
Just to get the sexualness out of it, I'm just gonna read the lines here. Your Grace, yes, my dear, they call you the last dragon. They do. You have dragon's blood in your veins. It's entirely possible. What happened to the dragon? She just won't shut up about the dragon.
See, this is where he says it's entirely possible. He should have said yes, because he's already, I am the fucking dragon. You don't want to awaken the dragon. I have the power! So he should have been like, no, it's entirely possible. Yeah, bitch, I do have the dragon in me.
Yeah, I was
You're
told
about to get the dragon in you.
What happened to the dragon? I was told that brave men killed them. Brave men didn't kill the dragons. Brave men rode them. Rode them from Valyria to build the greatest civilization the world's ever seen. The breath of the greatest dragon forged the Iron Throne, which the usurper is keeping warm for me.
Can I ask you a question? Were you a little... so you watched season 1, 2 before. After reading what the Iron Throne looks like, are you...
It was a little small.
Disappointed?
Let's talk about that in the next scene, because we actually see it.
We haven't seen the throne yet?
No, we have, but it's actually in the next scene.
Okay, all right. So they mention it now, and then they want to show it to us, so it's fresh in our head about what the dragons did. They forged it with the mightiest dragon, forged this throne from the swords of the fallen soldiers and all the conquered. Right, it was supposed to be like 10,000 swords or something like that.
This is what the Iron Throne should look like. Well, let me get the camera on it.
Yeah, sure. Lower it a little bit more. There you go. Yes, that's much more the vision of the throne than I thought. Maybe even bigger. Yeah, you're supposed to.
Wait, let me click it on me so I can stay on my camera for a second while you talk. Whoa, shit! Oh.
Yeah, that book is awesome.
Yeah, here we go. That's the Iron Throne.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's and it's supposed to like cut kings and bruise kings and it's got hilts and sharp edges. Even though it was forged in fire and put together by this dragon and blacksmiths, they didn't take any of the edges off the swords and the barbs off the points off the swords. So kings are always cutting themselves. It's supposed to remind the king how uncomfortable ruling a kingdom actually is.
Again, I apologize to people listening to the audio cast for that visual presentation of me trying to hold a book up to the camera. You were really missing performance art there. So
in that next scene, it highlights to me how it doesn't exactly embody what it was like visually, what I imagined, what I read,
or what George imagined, because that's what you do with that book.
For the first time I saw it, before I even read it, I thought, oh wow, that throne looks fucking awesome. That's the best looking throne scene I've ever seen.
And it does.
And it is nice. for I can't imagine a movie or a show where I've seen a king sit on a better looking throne, but after reading it, what you just showed in that book is more of the interpretation I had in mind.
Right. In the pictures that you see in that book are probably the closest that are to what George imagined. Yeah. What he wanted. He worked very much hand in hand with the illustrators and the artists for those pictures to try to give the best depiction of what he thought those things should look like. Right. So the breath of the greatest dragon, Balerion the Dread, is that how you pronounce it? Did I kill that name completely? I think I did all right.
Balerion, yeah. Balerion the Dread.
The Dread. Forged the Iron Throne, which the usurper's keeping warm for me. Now the swords of the vanquished thousands of them melted together like so many candles. Those are the swords that you saw in that picture. And she says, I always wanted to see a dragon. There's nothing in the world I would rather see. And his response to it, I think, is weird, too. Really? Why dragons? She keeps talking about them, and for someone that's the dragon, he keeps trying to change the subject. And she goes, they can fly, and wherever they are, just a few flaps of their wing, they're somewhere else, far away, and they can kill anyone.
It's a lot painful for him, you know. That was what gave his house power, and by the time his house lost it, they were no longer there.
Very good point, Ren. We find out in that book that you're holding that there are no Stark swords in that throne because the Starks, I believe, when they saw the dragons or when they were faced, they decided to.
Yeah, they had like 20, 30,000 men or something like that.
He gave their field loyalty over to.
Yeah, he had raised this huge army. The entire North had come down. They were gonna fight the king. And when he saw the dragons, when Ned's ancestor saw the dragons come up, and not just the dragons, but 40,000 men as well, which was twice the numbers that the North had. You know, they might have been able to win because of position and you know, their heart or whatever. But when he saw the dragons and the men, he was like, you know what, I'm not gonna kill my entire kingdom to save my entire kingdom. And he bent the knee to the king, so he got to keep his sword, which was a Valyrian steel sword.
Balerion the Black Dread, I believe. This is, let's see, this is the black picture of Balerion the Black Dread, if you can see that quickly.
And what book is the name? What's the name of that book that you got?
Here we go. George R. R. Martin's The World of Fire and Ice, A History of Westeros and a Game of Thrones. There you go. So he said, she said she wants him, they can burn away everything and melt like so many candles. And he also says, ooh, the fire's hurting him. He reacts to the fire. And she says seeing a dragon would make her very happy. And he says, well, after 15 years in the pleasure house, imagine seeing the sky makes you happy. What an asshole. And he was not locked in. She was not locked in. And he says, what have you seen? This is the part that Ren was asking about. I've seen a man with a dagger of real dragon glass. I've seen a man who could change his face the way other men could change their clothes. And I've seen a pirate who wore his weight in gold and whose ships had sails colored in silk. So
we need to remember this.
Remember this.
There's a little bit of foreshadowing going on in here. So it's not like, and if you remember this in the future, if you can remember this story in the future, then you'll know that it's not all just, you know, imagination and story.
Right. Let's put a Jostress here.
Another Jostress.
Another Jostress here. So Viserion she says, have you seen one? And he says, what, a pirate ship? Does he not get that she wants to talk about fucking dragons? And she's like, no, a dragon, goddammit. Rachel61, welcome. She said,
that's fucking hilarious. Like, what a pirate ship?
Pirate ship? No, a dragon.
Of course I haven't seen a dragon, you idiot. They were extinct many years ago.
Yep.
Oh, well, that's kind of sad, isn't it? Yeah, what the fuck? I'm not paying you to make me sad, you bitch. Fucking... Ugh.
Rachel61, yeah, it is a really great book. Great images and great information. And Renwood says, Torren Stark. Are you looking at the chat, Joe, so you could pronounce that name better than me? Torren Stark, she thinks. Which you thinking, I'm going to take your word for it. You're a resident go-to. So we're going to go with that. So Viserys says no, as Joe said, the last one died many years ago. But I'll tell you what I have seen. They're skulls. They used to decorate the throne room in the Red Keep when I was very young. Just 3 or 4 walking down. There was the smallest ones that were like about the size of dogs. But then as you get closer to the Iron Throne, and as he's going on this story, this is when the porno music starts kicking. It doesn't, but this is where he starts talking about dragons. She starts getting hot. He goes, the skulls get bigger and bigger and bigger. There was Glycar and Valerion and Vermithox and Esovius. I'm killing the names. I'm sorry. Arcanel, Marinex.
Yeah.
Subtex
and
Vagar, Vagar and Balerion the Dread, who fire forged the 7 kingdoms into one. and she's super hot and bothered. And then she asks what happened to the skulls, and he says, I don't know, the usurper probably smashed them to power. This is when she says the line that you said, Joe, that's very sad. What'd I buy you for, to make me sad? No. You bought me to teach your sister. To teach my sister how to be a better fucking lover? Are you an idiot?
I don't care about Khal Drogo's cock.
You pretty little idiot. And he fucking freaks out here, and then he tells her to, finish up. Do your job. Finish what you're doing. He's such a little prick.
Right, he gets a little rough there.
And Renwood says he does react to the fire. He gets a little burning. It's not even so much that he gets rough. He just gets a little like, oh, okay, I was humoring you for a while and pretending like I was interested in what you're saying, but now you pissed me off. You're just a whore. Finish me off.
Yeah.
So he ends up getting pissed off at her later in the episode, but we'll get there. So here we go inside the throne room at King's Landing. Sansa and Scepter Mordain are walking around looking at the throne, and we kind of already talked about that. If you look at the throne we saw there compared to the one in the book, as Joe pointed out. I think they talked a little bit about that in some of the behind-the-scenes footage for the season 1, where they said it just wasn't feasible from a television perspective to do something like that. But whatever, it was probably budgetary. Who knows? Yeah. And then you can't recanon the throne. You can't just have it look one way and then change it later when you have more money.
Right. I don't think it would have been hard or much to, it's a bunch of extra wood and silver paint, couple of nails.
But then you have to back up more to shoot because the visual becomes smaller, and then you have to have the boom mic. It probably has to do with technical television reasons that they didn't do it, because if you have a big huge set piece like that and someone's sitting in it, it's just weird. Where do you put the boom to be able to have the whole throne in the show? I don't know. They probably sat down at a table and were like, let's think about this for a second.
Well, nowadays with microphones, you don't really necessarily need the boom. You can put the microphone anywhere in anything.
True, but I know for a fact that they had that discussion and they said it's not worth it. I've seen behind the scenes stuff with them saying.
Yeah, I'm sure. I have their reasons. I don't like their reasons.
Dan and Dave, Joe doesn't accept your bullshit. Joe loves you, but
you have all the power of HBO and Time Warner behind you. Demand more money and make what we need to see.
I think they've gotten more and more money as time goes on, but in that first season they were out on a limb.
Yeah.
And at this point, I was looking at these numbers when I was looking at statistics. There was only about 2 million people a week watching Game of Thrones at this point as well. Which
it wasn't until about halfway through this that people started really
Right. At this point, people still weren't. Game of Thrones was not starting to become as popular as it became. It's just worth mentioning that. So Scepter Mordain and Sansa have a little interesting exchange where she says, someday your husband will sit on that throne, and before too long, your son, and he'll be the Lord King of Westeros. And she goes, what if I have a girl? Gods be good, Sansa. You'll have both boys and girls, and plenty of them. But what if I only have girls? And well, Jenny Poole's mother only had 5 children, all of them girls. Well, that's highly unlikely. But what if I didn't? Then they say it would become Prince Tom and would become king. Then everyone would hate me. No,
yeah,
no.
Everybody already does hate you, Sansa. Everybody has wasted, days of their lives watching your story.
I'm sorry, I don't know why that cracked me up so much.
Seriously,
we've been wasting days of our lives watching this goddamn Sansa Stark shit. No, I actually really like her in this episode. And she's just like, please shut up.
Oh yeah, she's even more bitchy and retarded in this episode.
Super bitchy in this moment. She says, Scepter Mordain kind of tries to bring her out of it by saying, remember your lessons. Who built the Iron Throne? Aegon the Conqueror. But who built the Red Keep? She says, she goes on, he goes, how many years did it take to make? And then Sansa just interrupts and says, my grandfather and uncle were murdered in here, weren't they? And Scepter Mordain, right there with Tyrion in that, doesn't miss a beat, just keeps going with it. Yep, they were killed at the orders of King Aerys. Yep. The Mad King. Yep, commonly known as the Mad King, just as cold as ever, the way she says it. Where were they killed? Well, you should speak to your father about these matters. I don't want to speak to my father ever. Sansa, come on, shut up. That's what pisses me off about her, the fact that she's pissed off at Ned. She's smarter than that. Isn't she?
Well, it's because of Ned that Ned killed her. Yeah, no, she's not smarter than that. She's not smarter than that. She has no insight whatsoever as to the fact that, her lies got her dog killed.
She's
Her wolf
Catelyn's
killed.
goddamn daughter. She should be smart. She should be
Arya
smart.
was smart enough to know that if she brought her dog back to camp with her wolf back to camp with her, the wolf was dead. Like, she white-fanged her wolf. What the hell was wrong? Like, Sansa, and, like, completely blind to
I think it's just Cersei's crazy. I think where it ultimately comes down to is Sansa was blind to Cersei's wacky craziness.
Well, yeah, really, like, Cersei's wacky craziness. Even Arya doesn't know how wacky and
Nobody
crazy
knows.
Cersei is. Nobody really knows.
Spoiler alert! Spoiler alert! Shut this off.
So spoiled, she can't fathom not getting her way.
Joe, spoiler alert, and I'm not going to say specifics. Cersei's batshit crazy. That's it. That's I don't want to talk too much more about her. We'll get to her in a second here, but she's batshit fucking crazy.
I don't even think that's appropriate talk.
That was her. Cersei Lannister saw that. She heard me talking about her, and her anger has cast through the interwebs to knock down shit. Joe, we better not talk about it. So you better want to speak to your father. You're gonna have to forgive your father for this madness. And she goes, "No, I won't." So we go to the small council meeting, and we hear Janos fucking Slint complaining about it's the hands tournament that's causing all these troubles.
It's not my tournament, just because it's named after me.
It's the King's tournament. I assure you, the hand wants no parts. The hand will jerk off to this fucking tournament. And Slint's like, you call it what you want, Lord Stark. The city is packed with people and more flooding in every day. Last night we had a riot in the tavern, a brothel fire, 3 stabbings, and a drunken horse race down the streets.
Woohoo!
That sounds like fun. That sounds like a shitload of fun. Joffrey. Oh yeah, Ren. She's like, Joffrey is my love, but my daddy is evil. And Drew Chronic about the Viserys stuff. Notice the wax burned him. Absolutely. Owie. So Varys, who I fucking love Varys in this scene. He's just so deadpan. Dreadful. And Renly's like, if you can't keep the king's peace, perhaps the city watch should become someone else. Just always probing there. And Janos is like, I need more men. And Eddard said, and Ned's like, you'll get 50. Lord Baelish will make sure it's paid for. Baelish is like, what? I will? Fuck you. It's like a comedy routine in this small council. You'll find the money for a champion's purse. You can borrow more fucking money from Tywin Lannister as far as I give a shit. And I'll also give you 20 of my household guard. And Slint says okay, and he leaves. And Stark says the sooner that all this shit's over, the better. And Varys says the realm prospers for such events. And him and Baelish exchange a little bullshit, which is kind of funny. And Stark says, I'm sure this tournament puts coins into people's pockets. Now, if there's anything else, my lords, and before he can even say this, they're all out. They all exit. They all run the fuck out. None of them care about it. But we find out it's very, very hot in there in this scene. I forgot to mention that. So he dismisses them, but who can't leave without saying something? That's Grand Maester Pycelle, who just can't stop himself from talking, and Ned takes advantage of it. Grand Maester's like, oh, this heat! Whoa, this fucking heat! And Ned's like, on days like this, or she says to Ned, on days like this, I envy you Northerners for your summer snows. And Ed says, I've been waiting to talk to you about Jon Arryn. Lord Arryn, his death was a great sadness. It just gets a little bit bullshitty, and Grand Maester Pycelle says Jon came to him and talked to him the night before he died, or a couple of nights before he died. And Ned's like, why? He goes, well, I've been Grand Maester for many years. The kings and hands come to me for advice. He gets all super defensive right away. I just don't like this guy.
No.
He's a Weasley little old man.
Yep.
Very Weasley. He's very...
He has a great scene later on this season that I fucking love.
You learn a lot about him in a couple
in
seconds.
in just a few short seconds, you learn a lot about this man. Really kind of brilliant.
Yeah, put Jostress here. Let's put a Jostress here in this whole situation.
And I think I put one before about the last when Ned sees Catelyn Stark for the last time, actually.
What do you mean the last time in the episode?
In King's Landing.
Yeah, the last time in King's Landing. Ghetto Toad says the Red God was angered and pushed Joe's map off the wall. The night is the Red God.
Rollor was laughing, of course, right?
Ren says 20 of my household guards. What Ned said, that might turn out to bite him. You never can tell where that might come back and slap across the face. He's in a dangerous area. It would be great to keep as many of his people around as possible, especially with the scene that comes later with him and Cersei. So Grandmaster Pycelle is pissed off and defensive again, and he basically tells Ned that Jon Arryn was asking about a book, and then he gives it right back to Ned when Ned's like, what book? He goes, I fear it would be a little interest to you. It's a ponderous book. And almost to Ned like, what, you read? You're not a reader, Ned Stark. So Ned goes, I would like to read this book. Says it very confidently, and then they go to Pycelle's room, and he reads. It's the lineages and history of the great houses of the Seven Kingdoms. And Stark flips through the book, and he just starts reading. It's all about different names, and first of their name, born in the 183rd year, blue eyes, brown hair, fair complected, died.
It's a book of lineage. That's all. That's it. So it's got all the houses, all the great houses, all the noble houses, and everybody's sons, what they looked like, who they married, who their kids were. It's a bunch of family histories.
And then he probes him a little bit about why Jon was interested in reading this. And he says he doesn't know. And then he switches the subject over to, do you think that it could have been anything else but like it was a horrible thing what happened to him? Did he say anything before he died? And he said the only thing he said was the seed is strong. The seed is strong, whatever that means.
That's some strong seed, man.
Mm-hmm. And Grandmaster Pycelle says that, which I think is a very interesting line that I think is important in real life, but also in the moment, it's important for a few reasons. But it's an interesting thing. People always put so much meaning on a dying man's words, and Pycelle, for the first time, I think makes sense here. He's like, a dying mind is a demented mind. For all the weight that's given to last words, they're usually as significant as first words.
Yep, I like that too. That's very. It's very thought-provoking. It's true.
Yeah,
it goes along with like Perry Farrell's Pet Song, you know.
Yeah.
And what 4 legs in the morning and 3 legs at night. That riddle, all that thing, you know. Elderly are like children.
And then elderly are like children. And so you have that song stuck in my head. It's a bastard. So Eddard Stark says, you're quite certain he died of natural causes. And Grandmaster Pycelle's like, what else could it be? Poison. And Pycelle, it's interesting to see how his mind works, because he takes this poison thing to go, oh, you know what I can do with this? I can use this as an excuse to fucking bash Varys. And he goes, a disturbing thought. And I've heard it's a woman's weapon. Stark says, yeah. He goes, women, cravens, ding, 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 and eunuchs. Oh, by the way, did you know that Varys is a eunuch?
Yeah, very, very unsubtle, like trying to put shit right on Varys like that.
Renwood says that looked like there was water pipes on Pycelle's desk, and then Duke Chronic says the weed is strong. Sounds a little bit more like.
Yeah. Well, he's the Meister's a scientist. He's a scholar. He's constantly learning.
They got that flown in from Dorne. No,
they don't grow. It's the wine in Dorne. I don't know where you get the good grass comes from the Dothraki.
You know where you get it. You get it where the Tyrells are. The lords.
No, you get the good grass from the Dothraki, man.
That's true.
Rocky got the good grass.
You lured me there with that one. I thought I had it with the Tyrells there with the flowers, and you went up to me with the grass. I like that. That's good. Good job, Joe.
It's the shit that's growing past the lands of Shy.
Way past the lands of Shy.
One day they'll take over the world, man.
Joe is officially woken up. Bam. I like it. So Grandmaster Pycelle says a disturbing thought. I thought the hand was loved by all. And as we said, we get our cravens. And Varys is a eunuch. He says it really slimy. And Eddard's like, everyone knows that. Master Pycelle is like, yes, of course. But how that sort of person could be. And he just keeps on it till Stark is just like, okay, enough of this bullshit.
He doesn't give two shits what Varys got between his legs. The only thing he cares about Varys is that if he's a good man or not. And he's got the kingdom and the king in his first thoughts.
Exactly. So Eddard says, "Thank you. I'll find my way out," because he doesn't want to. He doesn't want to go. He doesn't want to be around him any second. I'm sorry. I'm mid burp. It came out. So Ren Renman says, "Good one, Joe. You get it smuggled in by the Onion Knight." Awesome ghetto
So
tone.
true, ghetto. Yeah.
The Onion Knight does runs for people. So he runs out of there because he doesn't want to hear more of Paizel's bullshit. And Ned's now, as you can. I got to date back to a line that Littlefinger said, I believe it was in the last episode, might have been in the second episode, where he says, Stark's mind, slow moving. And Ned is not a dumb guy, but you can see the gears moving on the outside. Ned's a very smart guy, but he's very, very, he can't hide anything.
He's not a poker player.
Again, he's not a poker player. Very, very perfect way of saying it. He does not know how to hide anything. He wears his emotions and his thoughts on his face. So Ned's walking back to his chambers with the book, and he sees Arya balancing on one foot in the staircase.
He reads. His lips move when he does, though.
So Arya's balancing on one foot in the staircase, and she is so fucking happy. I don't think I've ever seen Arya this happy. And you can tell it makes him happy seeing the joy she has.
Yep.
And it helps take him out of the bullshit he's going through.
Yeah, reminds him of his sister, the other young wolf.
A couple of times in this scene. That's what I wrote at the end of the scene, when she goes into the whole, I'm not like that. That's not the person I am, Daddy. And you could just see him look at her like, you remind me so much of my sister. I love you. Like, I love you enough. You're my daughter, but you're my sister, too, in some ways.
Yeah.
So, Sirio's
sad.
So Sirio gave her the advice to kind of balance on the stairs, and he goes, "It's a tough fall if you fall down. It's a tough lesson to learn." And she said, "Every time you fall down, it makes you better. And tomorrow I'm going to be chasing cats." Cats? Sirio says, and she's so excited. She's so into it. And she says, "Now that Bran's awake, will he come and live with us?" And Ned says he needs to get his strength back first. And Arya goes, he wants to be a knight of the King's Guard. He can't be, but one day he can be a lord of a holdfast or sit in the King's Council. Thinking, and I think that's part of the reason, if we go to Varys, a broken thing, we're going back to Bran, a broken thing, and talking about how Varys is on the King's Council, and Ned not giving a shit. He's serious about that. Bran could be on the King's Council one day. He could be in the same position. Look at someone like Varys. He's probably thinking like that too. Varys is a eunuch, and he's on the King's Council. Of course, Bran can do anything. Yep. And he sits down, and Arya goes, "Can I be the lord of a holdfast?" And she goes, and he says, "You'll marry a high lord and rule a castle, and your sons shall be knights and princes and lords." And she said, very coldly, and again, I want to remember this too. She just said,
with certainty as well. Right? Good call, Kate. Like, it's very certain. It's not like just cold. It's no.
That's not me.
Right. She's very certain of that. And for what it's worth, no, there have been ladies of strongholds on a few occasions in the history of Westeros. And in fact, there's one. There's probably most of the time, or
I don't want to
single
spoil
daughters or whatever. But like up in Bear Island, there's a woman in charge right now.
Right, and we know down in Dorne that they don't look at things the same way that people look up in other parts of Westeros. Yep. Who knows? We might even encounter women in weird places as fighters in later times. We never can tell. We might fall into situations like that as we go along.
Times are changing, man.
What? Times are changing. Westeros is a changing place.
Time for some women's suffrage.
Yeah.
And
it's only fair.
Women's suffrage.
No.
So he just smiles at her and looks at her like, "Wow, I love this girl, and she reminds me of her sister. Such a great dad. He's just such an awesome." We said this a lot in the last episode.
He gets a very concerned look in his eye too. It's not just like love and caring. Like that comparison in his mind is not necessarily this great thing because
it puts you in a position where you're in danger, like any other person that put you in this. She's training to be a fighter. When you're training to be a fighter, you're going to put yourself in combat. Apparently, is what she's trained. She wants to fight, so he's teaching her how to fight. But when you learn how to do it, you do it to use it.
Essentially,
you're not doing it just for the hell of it. So we go out to the wall. Bam, the wall. Sam joins Jon as his watch partner, and they're looking out in the cold. Sam says, "Sir Alistair sent me out here, and I'm your new watch partner. I should warn you, I don't see too well. That's another thing he doesn't do that well. He goes, come stand by the fire, it's warmer. And he said, no, I'm all right. And he goes, no, you're not, you're freezing.
Yeah, you'll freeze to death. Get the fuck over here. We're 700 feet up in the air.
And guess what, Joe? You give me a Sam. What else does Sam not like?
He doesn't like anything. He doesn't like heights. He doesn't like the cold. He doesn't. He doesn't like. Oh, the poor guy. I feel for him. I like Sam Tarly. I like him a lot.
He doesn't like high places. You can't fight. You can't see. You're afraid of heights. And
what the fuck are you doing here, man?
Sam, what the fuck? And this is the first time he's almost nice about it too. I think let's go back to the question for a second before we go too far past the last scene. Dragon says, I think that line by Arya is the most compelling and foreshadowing line in the episode so far.
Yeah.
And Ren Renwood says, and in Sunnydale we have Buffy. The bromance begins. Yep, absolutely. Absolutely. And Samwell says, I don't like high places. Oh, yeah, what are you doing here? And this is the first time Jon's almost nice to him, the way he says, what are you doing here, Sam? He said he doesn't yell at him like before. He's yelling that whole first part. You can't fight, you can't see, you're afraid of heights. And then he goes, what are you doing here, Sam? Like just trying to open up to him a little bit. And I'm going to read this whole thing here because it's
he's like basically like, think about this. Don't be taking the black, essentially. You don't belong here.
But
why'd you come?
This is why. On the morning of my I'm not going to do it. I'm not in this mood. On the morning of my 18th name day, my father came to me. You're almost a man now, he said, but you're not worthy of my lands and title. Tomorrow you're going to take the black, forsake all claims to your inheritance, and start north. If you do not do that, then we'll have a hunt somewhere in these woods, and your horse will stumble, and you'll be thrown from your saddle to die. And right at that point, Jon's face goes like, holy fuck. And I think that's the moment where Jon Snow makes a solemn vow to himself to always protect this guy.
Well, this is the moment where he can relate because of how he's treated by Catelyn.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And Catelyn would let him die if she could.
Or we'll tell your mother, nothing will please me more. That's what we'll tell your mother.
Right.
Now, Sam goes, Sir Alistair's going to make me fight again tomorrow, isn't he? And Jon says, yes, he is. And he warms up to him, as Joe said. This is where he realizes that they're the same, that his father is Catelyn Stark. And he said, it's not going to get any better, you know. Well, you can't get any worse, and they both laugh. And as Ghetto Toad says, the bromance begins, and Dew Chronic says, nope, the cromance begins.
Romance begins.
Oh. Da, da, da. Oh, we love you. The music kicks in, the romantic music kicks in. They love each other. It happens. It's here. The bromance, the cromance. I love you guys. I love you guys in the chat room right now. Dragon, Dew Chronic, Ghetto Toad, Ren Redwood. You guys are awesome. Rachel, who I know is in here, hiding somewhere, and a couple other people. Thank you guys for keeping this even more fun. So here we go. We go on. So then they laugh at a moment, and they couldn't get any worse, and they both giggle. So then we get back into the gardens of King's Landing, and it is Mr. Peter Baelish talking to Eddard Stark. And Baelish is like, I hear you're reading a boring book. And Stark's like, Pycelle never talks too much. Just so blatant. He never stops. And he talks about this guy, Sir Hugh of the Vale, who until recently was only one of Jon Arryn's squires. He was knighted almost immediately after Jon Arryn's untimely death. Very interesting. And Stark goes, knighted for what? Why are you telling me this? As I said, as we were talking about, his gears start moving. And Littlefinger says, I promised Cat that I'd help you. Ed Stark says, where is Sir Hugh? I'm going to speak to him. And Baelish said, a bad idea. And then he starts pointing out all these people around that are spies for different people. He says, that person is a spy for Varys.
These little kids here, this old lady there, this is for Varys, this is for the Queen, that one's mine. Let me ask you, Sir Ned, who do you trust?
Or do you trust anybody in your service? And he said, yes. And he goes, no. The wiser answer was no. Get a message to this friend of yours discreetly. Send him to question Sir Hugh, and after that, you might want to visit a certain armory in the city. Or
right then and there too. If you're Ned and you're really thinking, you got to be thinking, oh, he says to go to my most trusted person right now. he's gonna he's gonna figure out who that is. Like, he's gonna know my most trusted confidant.
Absolutely.
Go send a message to my most trusted people now.
But ultimately, Stark is buying what Littlefinger is selling here and believes that because he wants to bone his wife, that he's helping him out here. Because afterwards, Ned Stark does the put his head down and goes, well, shucks, maybe I was wrong to not trust you, Sir Mr. Baelish. Sir Baelish, Lord Baelish, I'm sorry, how many titles can I give this guy? And I have dishonored, he gives that, I've dishonored myself by not giving you honor. And Baelish is like, no, distrusting me was the wisest thing you've done since you climbed off your horse. And so yeah. The guy that played Hugh of the Vale also played in Vikings as the guy who gets his arm cut off. Tornston, that's interesting. And Ghetto Toad says, that night Sam should have snuck into his father's chambers and slit his throat. Yeah, if he wasn't so craven, he probably would have done that. So we go over to Jory and Sir, or not a Sir, to a castle. So we'll call him Jory. And he's trying to introduce himself to Sir Hugh, who's kind of being a dick to him. He's like, I'm busy. And he goes, I'm here from the hand of the king. And he's like, Sir? No, I'm no sir. I'm just Jory. I'm just here to talk.
Yeah, he dismisses him. He says, come back. I'll talk to the hand of the king, but I'm not talking to you. You're no one to me. You're nothing.
And then we cut over to him telling Ned about it, and he's like, oh, he said he was a knight. A knight. They strut around like roosters down here, even the ones who haven't seen an arrow coming their way. Great wise asses, like dead, like, fuck these people. We're not, these people are so soft down here. Let's all agree that Ned is not good at this game. Yeah, I don't think anyone can doubt that Ned's not a poker or a Game of Thrones player. So Jory says he'd be glad to talk to the hand himself. He's a knight, you see, and you should. And they're heading towards the armory, and Jory says you shouldn't be out here. There's no telling who has eyes. And Ned says, let them look. I don't give a shit. And they go in there, and he talks to the guy that runs the shop, and he says, what did Lord Arryn want here? He said he came to see the boy. And he goes, I'd like to see the boy as well. So we get over and we get to see somebody named Gendry. Fucking Gendry. So it's worth mentioning that for small book purposes, we don't like to get too far down that road, but a little bit. Gendry is in the books, but they definitely made him older on the show, and they also combined him with some of Robert's other bastards to kind of pick a couple of things and make him one character. So he is basically our visual representation of Robert's bastards.
Yeah, one of the things they didn't get right in this show, as far as I'm concerned, until a few episodes, is the scope of the amount of bastards that Robert has.
Right. Oh, they eventually get.
They're all over the fucking kingdom. They're not just in King's Landing. Like, it's ridiculous.
Right.
Anyway, he's father and child, pretty much.
He made the 7, Joe.
He's made the 7 a number of times, I'm sure. I'm sure he's got at least 7 kids in each of the 7 kingdoms, for Christ's sakes.
So I agree with that to a certain extent, and I think they ultimately just gave us one face for them. We do see them a lot more as time goes on. We meet a few other of them, but basically a lot of the focus is on Gendry. So they say he's strong for his age. He works hard. Show the hand the helmet you made, and Ned's giving him there's something familiar, but I can't place you kind of look. And he goes, "This is fine work. It's not for sale, though."
Yeah, it's mine. I'm not selling it. But boy, if the hand wants it, you'll make it for him. You'll give it to him if he wants it.
Boy, this is the hand of the king. His lordship wants the helmet. You give it to him. I made it for me. Forgive me, my lord. There's nothing to forgive. As Ned smiles again, like, why does this kid seem familiar? And he asked him, when Lord Arryn came to visit you, what'd you talk about? And he said he asked me questions, all kinds of questions. He asked me, and he kind of looks to his boss. He goes, to make sure it's okay. He asked him about my work, if I'm being treated well. He asked me if I liked it here. He asked me about my mother. Your mother, who was she? She died when I was little. She had yellow hair. She used to sing to me. And then right away, Ned's mouth opens wide, and he says, let me look at you. Let me look at you, boy. And he looks at him in the eyes, and he just
he sees it right then and there. He sees
those Baratheon eyes just looking back at him.
And his size, like He's good size, you know. And at first you'd think it's because it's a blacksmith. He's a blacksmith apprentice.
I'm sorry. I said that incorrectly. Not making the 7.
Back in our day, you weren't a real man until you'd fucked one girl from each of the 7 kingdoms and the Riverlands. We used to call it making the 8.
That's right, making the 8. Thank you, King Robert.
Nice.
Sorry, I needed to correct myself. I think I said making the 7. He did.
Yeah, I think we both were on the 7.
He got to Dorne. Goddammit.
We forgot the Riverlands.
Let's all agree that's not good. Look, Rachel. Looking back, I can see now why. Yes. I'm not gonna say that out loud, but yes. Dragon Gendry is Diesel. And Dragon correcting us, King Robert making the 8. I hope that King Robert sound clip made up for us messing up there. So Eddard Stark, look at me. He sees him. He walks outside to Jory. And he says, find anything. And he says, King Robert's bastard son. And dun dun dun. So Jaime is standing guard outside the king's chambers, and I love this fucking scene. This is probably my favorite scene of the episode. And Jaime's standing guard outside the king's chambers. You can hear King Robert with numerous girls inside his room as Jaime is kind of like intensively listening and just trying to hold back the whole entire like the anger and frustration on his face right there. And Jory walks up and he says, "This is for the king," creeping up. And Jaime goes, "Shh, quiet down. Listen, do you hear him? Do you hear him? How many do you think are in there? Guess, 3, 4. And Jaime's not shamed, but he's definitely pissed off by all this. He says he likes to do this when I'm on duty. He makes me listen, as it insults my sister. And Jory says, "Forgive me, Lord." And Jaime's like, "Why do I have to forgive you for?" He's so antagonizing at first, but then he goes, "Have you wronged me?" And Jaime's just so cocky. I fucking love Jaime.
Jaime's just an asshole, and obviously, like, yeah, it does get to you. Look at how much of a dick you're being right now. Like, you're a dick, and that's it.
Jory says, "We've met before, though." And
it also makes me think that King Robert knows
that it bothers him.
At some level, he knows.
Oh, absolutely. He says it to him ultimately in the episode before when he calls him in, and he says, "It must burn you inside to hear me to be sitting up to be a glorified sentry while your king eats, sleeps, and fucks and whores around."
Yep.
So Jory says, "We've met before," and Jaime says, "Have we? I've forgotten." As he's still antagonizing, and then Jory says, "The siege of Pike. We fought side by side one afternoon." And this is where Jaime kind of drops it for a few moments here. He says, "Is that where you got your scars?" And he goes, "One of the Greyjoys. They nearly took my eye." And Jaime says, "Vicious sons of whores." And Jory says they like their bloodshed. They stopped liking it at the end, as they both nod at each other and they smile. And Jaime says that was a proper battle. Do you remember Thoros of Myr charging through the breach with his burning sword? I'll remember that till the day I die.
Yep. They bond for half a second. He says, "Oh, we bonded. Can I leave this with you?" "I'm not your fucking messenger. Get the fuck away from me."
And then in the same time, we hear King Robert screaming from the room as women are leaving, "I bet you smell like blackberry jam. Let me smell it."
Yeah.
I'm sorry I don't have that sound cue. And Jory, and Jaime immediately, as you said, acts like a dick, but then the look he gets on his face afterwards looks like he immediately regrets it. Like, he acts like a dick, and then he immediately thinks, "Oh, shit. What? Did I really have to do that?"
Yeah, he had to do that.
And he did.
He's a dick.
Is he a dick, or is he? I don't know. Let's put a thought back on that.
He's a dick. He threw a boy out a window.
Yeah, he did. Dick. Yeah. I guess he threw a boy out a window. You have a point. You have a point there. He did do that.
He threw him out the first floor window. He threw him out the tower fucking window.
For love?
Hoping to kill him.
For love?
10-year-old. For love, yes.
I'm a fan of kids, but I don't want to throw any.
He knew his name when he saw him in heaven. Maybe he'll write a song like Eric Clapton. So.
He is a bird?
No, when he wrote Tears in Heaven.
Tears in Heaven, yeah.
Sorry. So in the mess hall back at Castle Black, Gren is asking Jon Snow where he's been. And he said he's been on duty, with
Just make a laugh at the duty joke.
I was spending time this evening wondering to myself what is more funny, Uranus or Bangkok. So yeah, I was laughing.
Bangkok.
Bangkok's funnier than Uranus.
Yeah.
Dragon says Jamie is that guy that pisses you off, but there's nothing you can do about it. Absolutely, and I think Jory knows that. Ghetto says, "What the fuck was King Robert doing to him?" And there was screaming. It was evilly belly laughing.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, they was just constantly screaming, and they're all just. And he's like, "Oh my god." Oh, I love King Robert.
Yeah, he's got some. It gets boring, missionary style. He changes it up. 1 girl, 2 girls, 10 girls, blackberry jam girls.
As we said, it's good to be the king.
Like, you want to know why it smelled like blackberry jam? Because he spread some blackberry jam all over the girl.
Yeah, he decided he wanted to fill 2 needs in one motion. He wanted to eat. So Jon Snow is with Pip and Gren walking up to them, and he's like his watch duty with Sam, and Pip calls him Prince Porkchop. And where is he? He wasn't hungry. Impossible. Jon Snow says that's enough. In an angry tone, he says Sam is no different than the rest of us. There is no place for him in the world, so he's come here, and we're not going to hurt him in the training yard anymore. Never again, no matter what Thorne says. He's our brother now, and we're going to goddamn protect him. And Rast says, "You're in love, Lord Snow. Your girls can do as you please, but if Thorne puts me against Lady Piggy, I'm going to slice me off some fucking bacon." So all the new recruits are sleeping, and Jon gets an idea. We get a major Ghost moment here. Jon and Ghost and Pip and Gren ambush and gag this guy as he sleeps, and Jon has a Ghost stand on him and growl like he's gonna rip his face off. Jon probably has trained his dire wolves better than any of the other Starks. This wolf is or Robb maybe too. We haven't really seen Robb with his dire wolf too much yet. But Jon's really trained him well, and Ghost is up on there like growling, and the kid basically, no one touches Sam, he says. And the kid, you got to figure this guy peed himself. Are we to think he had to have peed himself, right? Little pee.
Another opportunity squandered for them to show like dripping from under the bed or something like that.
Yeah, that wouldn't have been bad. It wouldn't have been a bad thing.
I don't think. I know I would have pissed myself.
Me too. Fucking A. That kind of ghost up there in my face, I would have cried. That's a scary pup.
Yeah.
So back in the training yard the next morning, Rast is defying Thorne and not attacking Sam because he's like, "What are you waiting for? Attack him!" And so he barely slaps him. He just kind of like taps him, and then he walks off and he yells to Gren, "You get in there!" And Vaughn says, "Full Metal Jacket, blanket party, Game of Thrones style." Dragon's
yeah.
Ghost regulating. And he's Sam Crow. Oh, he's Sam Crow. That took me a second. I like that. Thanks. I totally did the Ron Burgundy thing. Like I say, I'll read anything. The direwolf has red eyes. Yep, scary fucking direwolf. "Give me the alcohol now." Goes all Marty McFly. Oh, not Marty McFly. Whatever Teen Wolf's name is. Marty McFly from Teen Wolf. So back in the.
It was Howard. Something Howard. Scott Howard, or Jason Howard. I forget. I might be confusing it with Teen Wolf too. Okay, enough of that. So back to the training yard, and Rast is so Rast just kind of walks off, and Gren comes in there, and he starts going, "Hit me, and Sam hits him a couple of times. He goes, I yield. Yep.
And Thorne says, "You guys are funny," and he's not yelling at anybody else. He's just yelling right at Jon Snow. You think it's funny, do you? When you're out there beyond the wall, when the sun's going down, do you want a man at your back or do you want a sniveling boy? And he walks off in a huff. But you got to think he's a little right.
Yeah, he's right.
Sam should not be taking the fucking black.
Well, there's a job for everybody there.
Right.
Really. They can use him. There's plenty of things he can do. Not everybody has to fight. There's a reason why there's 3. When you take the black, you get put into one of 3 different groups. You get put in the builders, the rangers, or the stewards. You know, and of course, in time of war, in crisis, everybody needs to pick up a sword, but even then, there needs to be people running certain supplies around and doing certain things, like there's sending crows, or there's things he can do that, you know, even then. So there's no reason for them not to take him. He's just not going to thrive there necessarily. It's going to be a hard life for him, but you know, there's a place for him.
No, I definitely hear that. And I was actually going to say that, Ren. Remember that Ghost is...
Yeah, he's not really growling.
He's not really growling. He's just breathing his hot breath on him, which makes it even more scary. I feel like they don't make enough of a point of that on the show, and that's something they make a big point of in the book, of how Ghost is silent. It's just kind of they never say it or anything on the show. He just never makes a sound, really. But they go on a lot about that in the books. Sam is well read and can write, so it is important. Ghetto Chronicles says, I thought it was funny. Yeah, it was funny. And so is this whole scene with the boys and them refusing to attack Sam. It was pretty funny stuff. And Thorne walks off in a huff. So here we are to the series. He's dragging the whore girl from before on her hair through the camp into Daenerys' tent, Doreith, and she's crying, and she's like, what the fuck's going on? And he runs into her, throws her down on the ground, goes, you sent it to Daenerys, you sent a whore to give me commands?
Yeah, to come and get me?
Come and get me. She's like, I did commit. Get her out of here. And she sends one of her other girls out with her to get her out of there. She goes, I didn't command you. I just invited you to supper. She didn't command him. She said, this kid's freaking crazy.
Yeah, I just wanted to invite you to dinner. I got you a gift. And she tries to give him some clothes, and he's like, you want me to wear Dothraki rags? What the fuck is wrong with you?
You gonna dress me now?
Yeah. He's pissed at her. I'm the fucking king.
And they said it, and then he's like, it stinks of manure, all of it. And then he starts throwing it at her, and then she says, stop it. And he goes, you'll turn me into one of them. What's next? You'll have me braid my hair? And she said, you have no right to a braid. She gets real snaps on him here.
Yeah.
You won no victories. And you don't talk back to me, he says. And then he hits her, and then gets on top of her and starts trying to, like, push her and goes, I'm the dragon, you've awoken the Dracula, you horse lord slut. And you know what she does? She fucking pounds a chain in the side of his head and goes, shut up, and gets on top.
And if you ever do that to me again, I will kill you, motherfucker.
Don't fuck with me. I am Khaleesi of the Dothraki. I'm the wife of the Khal, and I carry his son inside me. The next time you raise a hand will be the last time you have fucking hands.
Yeah.
Bitch! And
he's just all, oh!
He looks at her like, what the hell? Joe, could you talk for 2 seconds while I let the cat out of the room? Don't mess with me.
Oh, you gonna let the cat out of the bag? You want me to let the cat out of the bag? Yeah, so, you know, he basically is put in his place. There's nothing he can say to her. She completely gets the better of him and shows that she's falling right in place where she should be.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And great point by Ren Renwood. Yes, the dragon was awoken, but it was Dany in that moment.
It was Dany.
Yep.
The dragon was awoken and
Don't make
Dany.
me unleash it. So then we get Sam and talking about, I know for a fact that officers go to brothels in Molestown, and Sam's really upset about the fact that they need to protect the wall, but they can't get laid. And John's like, that's really what you're upset about? And Sam goes, don't you think it's a bit unfair making us take our vows where they sneak out and get a little Sally on the side? And John sounds like, Sally on the side? It's silly, isn't it? We can defend the wall because we're celibate. It's absurd. And John says, I didn't think you'd be so upset about that. And Sam says, why not? Because I'm fat? And fat guys need loving too. They like girls. We like girls as much as you do, but the girls might not like me as much as they like you, Jon Snow. Kit, you're sexier than I am. And you probably had 100. And John says, no, he hasn't had 100. He only had a chance to have one, a redhead whore named Roz. It must be a family tradition that they all brought him down for they all bring them down to Roz. Yep. She's the one that she's like in Biloxi Blues, the girl that divergenized. Spoiler alert: divergenizes the kid in Biloxi Blues. So oh no, why didn't you make love to this Roz with the beautiful tits? And what's my surname? Snow. Why is it Snow? Because I'm a bastard a bastard of the North. And I never met my mother. My father wouldn't even tell me her name. I don't know if she's living or dead. I don't know if she's a noblewoman or a fisherman's wife or a whore. So I sat there in a brothel as Roz took her clothes off, but I couldn't do it because all I could think of, what if I got her pregnant and had a child? Another bastard named Snow. It's not a good life for a child. He also goes into more depth in other places about how he doesn't want to maybe even have sex with someone that he's family with, too. You know, he doesn't know who his mother is. He doesn't know who the hell is out there. She could be a whore. Kat said back alley Sally, and Sam says Sally on the side. That's actually pretty funny.
Yeah.
And thank you, Red. And Dragon says Dothraki vest $20, Dothraki belt $15. Look on Viserys' face after getting bitch slapped, priceless. Good one, Jack. So Lord Snow says, yeah, I couldn't do it because I don't want any more bastards. So Sam says, so I guess I forgot to mention that. He says, why didn't you do it? You didn't know where to put it. And then it tops off the joke by saying, so you didn't know where to put it. And they both laugh at each other. And as Captain Asshat comes in as Johnny Lawrence's, I can't think of Johnny Lawrence's Cobra Kai commander comes in here. Enjoying myself? You guys look cold. And Sam says it's a bit nippy. And my question here is, because Thorne goes into a big speech, and we'll get into it here. Could they have said anything to stop Thorne from going into a speech here? Did he go in there for the speech? Was there anything? Could Sam have said, oh, I'm fine. Actually, I'm adjusting pretty well. Oh, adjusting pretty well. Adjusting pretty well. I bet you had great summers down south, fat boy. But he starts going in, oh, you guys think you're cold. It's been 10 years since the last winter. Was it comfortable at Winterfell where you were warm when people built your fires? And Jon Snow goes, I built my own fires. And Thorne, awesome. Thorne plays such an asshole so well.
Yeah.
And just the nod he gives him, he goes, yeah, that's admirable. Just like, fuck you. Like, yep, sure. That's fucking admirable.
I love that when Thorne walks in, Jon's like mounting Sam. He's got his hand on his boobie. It's like a pretty awkward, like he runs around the table to like go like, you know, play wrestle with his new brother. Yeah. He's just got his hands on his boobs when he walks in.
Rachel61 says that scene with Dany and Viserys is the only scene I was actually rooting Dany on. Yeah.
Well, pretty much every scene with Dany and Viserys, you want to like Dany because Viserys is such a dick.
Such a dick. Such a fucking
like pretty much you can only feel bad for Dany at this point. All she's ever done is had her family fucking murdered, been under her brother's thumb, getting molested by him and creeped out by him for her whole life, sold off to Drago to be raped into Khaleesi, which she's now finally embracing, and still being treated like shit from this guy. Like, she's had a rough life, you know, and for her to be still as good as she is with the rough life that she's had is amazing.
Shows how strong she really is. So Thorne says that's admirable, and this is probably the most in-depth we get on him because he actually breaks here, and you see a real person here for a few times. He says, I said 6 months beyond the wall during the last winter. It was supposed to be a 2-week mission. We heard rumors that Mance Rayder was planning to attack, so we went on look for him for his men, capture them, gather some knowledge. The wildlings who fight for Mance Rayder are hard men, harder than you'll ever be. They know their country better than we do. They knew there was a storm coming in, so they hid in their caves and waited for it to pass. We got caught out in the opens. Wind so strong it yanked 100-foot trees straight from the ground, roots and all. You took your gloves off to find your cock to have a piss. You lost a finger to the frost. And in the darkness, you don't know the cold. Neither of you do. The horses died, and we didn't have enough to feed them, to keep them warm. Eating those horses was easy. But later, when we started to fall, that wasn't easy. As he starts to break, his voice starts cracking here.
Yeah, you really get a sense for who this guy is. He's been on the wall for a long time. It's been at least 18 years or something like that since the 10 years or something.
10 years since the last winter.
Since the last real winter, you know. So.
And then when he says that wasn't easy and his voice cracks and you see a real moment of emotion on his face for the first time, He immediately turns it back to being antagonistic. We should have had a couple of young boys like you along, shouldn't we? And he breaks it, and he goes, soft, fat boys like you, Tarly.
And he starts poking at the belly.
Yeah, he goes, we would have lasted a fortnight on you and had bones left over for soup. Soon we'll be like Thens. Soon we'll have new recruits, and you'll be passed along to the Lord Commander for assignment, and they'll call you Night's Watch. But you fools, you'll be fools to believe it. Your boys...
Men of the Night's Watch.
Men of the Night's Watch. But you'll be fools to believe it. Your boys still, and come the winter, you'll die like flies. And then he gives a sneer look and walks out. And you know what? Again, he's being a dick, but he's speaking a lot of truth.
Yeah, there is a lot of truth because he's seen it happen many, 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 many times, but, you know...
He's still being that dick teacher that's always a dick to the freshmen every year, but then when you graduate, it was probably like, oh, okay, you're okay.
They're still hazing.
Yeah, but my question is, as we're going to go on, is he that guy that's just giving them shit while they're underlings in this moment, and that he'll be okay with them once they're men of the Night's Watch, or is he going to be a dick forever? We'll have to keep our eye on that as time goes on.
I'm voting for dick forever. I'm voting this guy's been a dick forever, he will continue to be a dick forever, and there's a reason why he's on that fucking wall.
So here we go to a very interesting scene inside Daenerys' tent, where she's speaking privately to Jorah, and she says, I hit him, I hit the dragon. And Jorah says, listen, truth talk here. Your brother Rhaegar was the last dragon. Viserys is less than the shadow of a snake. And Daenerys goes, he's still the true king. And Mormont's like, listen, you want the truth? You want the truth? Would you like to see your brother sitting on the Iron Throne?
Yeah, nobody's gonna follow him. Nobody's. She's like, they still want him to come back and rule, and he's like, nobody gives a shit about him over there.
He says the common people pray for rain and health in summer that never ends. They don't care what games the High Lords play.
Right.
He says.
Some lords might want him to come back because they made good money with the Targaryens in power, but other lords don't care, and the common folk certainly don't give two shits. They don't want to die for anybody.
Sam's soup with some side of Sally with bread and salt. Dragon and Ren, you guys are awesome. Great.
Yeah. Beef and Tarly.
Beef and Tarly. Too chronic. You guys are so fucking funny in there. So, no fucking way. But the common people are waiting for him. Common people are waiting for him, Joe. No. So Daenerys is like, what do you pray for, Jorah? And so warm to him. You can't, so warm. And he says home. And she says, I pray for home too. In complete understanding. I fucking love it. I can't say it enough. Whatever it is.
For her, I think home is that house with the red door.
Whatever it is. No, I think she's talking about Westeros there too. But what I'm saying is what she says. I'm just saying the way the actress, the way she says the line, I pray for home too. There's something about it. I watched it a couple times. I just love the way the actress delivers that line. I pray for home too. And then she says, my brother will never take back the Seven Kingdoms. She finally sees her brother for the weak-minded, entitled fool he is. He couldn't lead an army if my husband gave him one.
Right, well, she just put him on his ass.
He'll never take us home. Yeah, if he can't take her in a fight, he can't take.
Right? Would she get away with doing that? She's like, I would never get away with doing that to Khal Drogo. My husband would never let me get away with that. The fact that he just let me get away with that is ridiculous. He would never rule kingdoms. Not if I can put him on his ass and threaten to take his hands.
So, to another broken thing, we go right to Robert's drunken face, which I think Robert in this scene, even though he's only in a moment of this... Oh, thank you, Robert. Even though he's only in a moment of the episode, he steals this episode for me. With him in the scene with Jamie yelling, "Oh, get in here!" and then him at the tournament being just completely shithouse. And the look of drunk Robert is a very from this scene is a very iconic Game of Thrones image through history. Is Robert sitting there in the throne outside watching this tournament, drinking. It's you see it many times. So Baelish sees Sansa looking at Joffrey, who hides his face from her. Don't look at me. We see the image of Robert with the horn drinking. It's so iconic, and it's just a hilarious scene of him. He's just great. And Baelish comes over and he's like, lovers quarrel. He's just so fucking perverted in this scene with her. And Scepter Mordaine's like, Sansa, this is Lord Baelish. And of course, Arya's like, why do they call you Littlefinger? She's so cute here. She just interrupts, quick snap. Arya, don't be rude. No, it's quite all right. When I was a child, I come from a very small little split of land called the Fingers. Joe, the Fingers?
Yep, the little fingers.
Where are the fingers?
I got a map. And the little fingers.
Right there on the map of Joe.
Here's the little fingers. Here's John the Erie. Here's King's Landing.
God, I love Robert in this scene. I'm sorry, I'm still thinking of just everything, like the look on Robert Baratheon's face. I've been sitting here for days. Stop the damn jokes before I piss myself. He just must have read these lines and just realized he was in for so much fun playing this guy. Yeah. So she says, "Why do you call it Littlefingers?" No, he's from a small split. He's from a small split of lands called the Fingers. You see, so it's an extraordinary, clever nickname. And that's when we hear Robert in the background saying that, "Start the tournament before I piss myself." Sansa says, "Gods, who is that?" As we see the Mountain. Spoiler alert. The Mountain is played by several different actors throughout the series. This is our first Mountain, who is also over 7 feet tall. Is a guy that initially, I guess, auditioned for a different part auditioned for Drogo because the Mountain wasn't in the first episode, but actually was doing it just so he could get the Mountain later. This guy very much wanted to play the Mountain in the same way that Hodor wanted to play Hodor, who found out.
I don't understand why they got rid of him. I thought he did a good job.
Yeah. So I tend to agree with you. I like our first Mountain. So Robert Baratheon says he starts everything off, and Littlefinger says that's Gregor Clegane. They call him the Mountain. He's the Hound's over there's older brother. And his opponent, Sir Hugh from the Vale, the guy that we saw that Ned wanting to talk to. He was Jon Arryn's squire. Look how far he's come. Yes, enough of the... They go to, like, pay their honor to the king, and the king says, yes, enough of the bloody pomp. Have at it. Just fight already. I gotta see some fighting. So the joust begins, and the first pass takes its course. There's no contact or anything. On the second pass, the Mountain strikes him, and it strikes him in the neck, causing this giant splinter, and with gushing blood all out of the guy's neck, kind of like right in front of where Sansa is sitting, and she's just horrified, screaming as the splinter goes into his neck, oozing blood.
Oh, I get the joke now. Splinter is coming.
And then we hear everyone hears a talking as we see the Hound be like, we get a shot of the Hound kind of putting his head nodding, being like, yep, that's my brother. Any chance he has to kill somebody. As Littlefinger starts whispering to Sansa. Now, not what you were expecting. Has anyone ever told you the story of the Mountain and the Hound? Lovely little tale of brotherly love. The Hound was a pup, 6 years old, and Gregor a few years older, already.
What a creep. Can I just say, Littlefinger is such a fucking creep.
So creepy. So creepy.
Even though he's leaning in to tell her the story, it's like, it's almost inappropriate.
Ghetto Toad, I agree. The two Mountains I like are the first one, and I like the most recent Hound as well. You can watch some of our last season recaps to see our response to the new Mountain. We get into that a lot more in some of those, but I definitely love the new Mountain as well. I think he was excellent casting. I think some of the ones in between sucked, but I like the first one and I like the last one.
Yeah.
So Sansa says so he tells the story. Gregor had a toy that he played with, and one night he found the Hound playing with it when he was like 6 years old. He grabbed his brother by the scruff of the neck and he shoved his face into burning coals of fire and held him there while he screamed, and his face melted. And then Littlefinger, in that super creepy way, says, there aren't many people that know that story. Promise you won't tell anybody and I'll give you cookies. If you don't tell anybody, I'll give you cookies.
Yeah,
Or you're going to piss the Hound off.
Yeah, he does have an obscene phone call voice at all times.
Oh, absolutely, Katie. It's like he's constantly the huffer on the phone calling Creeper. I wrote Creepy Creeperson. He's totally...
Yes.
And And he goes, "Don't tell anybody, because if the Hound heard you mention it, I'm afraid all the night." He's like Carol from The Walking Dead again. "I'll tell all the Hounds we'll be able to save you." And he's just fucking with her. Well, it's how creepy. And Conan Stevens is the mountain. He's one of the world's strongest men. I think that's the newest mountain, right?
Thor, the half Thor is the new guy.
Okay. Conan
Stevens might be the last one, the first one.
Yeah, the toy knight. The toy knight. Dragon says you can see the difference between Sansa and Arya when Sir Hugh bites it. Arya's like almost smiling about it. And Ghetto Toad says, "Loved how Arya was leaning in to listen to this whole exchange." Yeah, you can totally see Arya leaning in to listen to the creeper scene. So you can tell that she's not going to trust this little finger. She's smarter than.
Conan Stevens is the first guy.
Conan. So this guy is
actor. He's huge. He's massive.
Yeah, he's over 7 feet tall.
And he's cut and huge and massive on top of it. I'm looking at some pictures of him on my computer right now. Maybe he's just that bad of an actor that, or maybe he had something else, or pissed someone off, or stopped showing up, or something. I don't know what it was, but.
I know there's certain shows where actors have gotten in trouble off camera. I don't know if he did. I'm making stuff up, but there's some shows that actors have been fired because they get DUIs or something like that. So who knows? Something might have happened. Well, let's go with that. Let's say the guy got a DUI. That's why he got fired from Game of Thrones. So then we go to Eddard's quarters, and Cersei.
And this guy, I gotta say, the first guy, actually looks like the Hound's older brother. Half Thor doesn't really look like the Hound's older brother. He looks younger. I think he's about the same age, or maybe even a little older. I think we looked it up at the time.
No, we went into that more.
But yeah, I think that I would have liked them to have stayed with the first guy. The second guy was awful. He looked like a beanpole comparatively, and then this last guy was great. Well, the scene.
I want to say there might have been. I want to say there might have been one other guy too. There might have been.
Spoiler alert.
I did. I think no. I think she wasn't able to be heard there. I don't know. Well, I don't know what she said there. So Castle leaves the room as the Queen enters, and she says, "Your Grace." Cersei says, "You're missing your tournament," and this is where we get Cersei's tactic of diplomacy, which it's Renard says the Hound has this thing about not being called a knight. Absolutely, he doesn't want to be called a knight at all. And
well, he looks at the knights are a bunch of peacocks and hens, like strutting around in flowers and pretty robes and shit. He's a burned and mutilated man. There's no illusions as to who he is. He's not going to act like that. That's not what life is to the Hound and to the Mountain.
So Cersei gets in this scene, and Cersei goes into her whole thing, and like when Cersei's trying to, she comes in with an agenda, but she always initially tries to make it seem like she's there for another reason, like it's something that she cares. Like when she's trying to do diplomacy, she can only keep it up for so long. She can keep it up for like 2 minutes before she makes everything about herself. She's like, oh hey, let's Ned Stark, let's put behind all this nonsense on the road. I really shouldn't have made you kill the wolf. How is Sansa? And Ed's like, I like it here, and Cersei's doing a decent job pretending like she gives a shit, and eventually she goes, but she can't keep it up. Oh, she's the only Stark who does, favors her mother, not much of the North in her, which is a dig into Ned. And then Ned just immediately goes into, what the hell are you doing here? And Cersei goes, okay, we're going to play this game. I might ask you the same goddamn question. What is your hope to accomplish? And then the king called on me to serve him in the realm, blah, blah, blah. You can't change him. You can't help him. He'll do what he wants, which is all he'll ever done. You can try your best to pick up the pieces. And Ned says, it's my job, then so be it. You're just a soldier, aren't you? And she looks at him and realizes that he's just a soldier. He doesn't think the way she does.
Right. He doesn't play the game. It's all black and white to him.
Yeah, you take your orders, you carry on. I suppose it makes sense. Your older brother was trained to lead, and you were trained to follow. Oh my God!
Yeah,
She's such a douchebag.
Dig at him. You shouldn't be here. You shouldn't be doing this job.
It was again even more than that. You shouldn't be here. You shouldn't do this job because you know what? If your father and your brother weren't horribly maimed and killed, I just felt like mentioning them again.
Well, you know that it kind of goes at too why she mentions earlier it should be you who's the hand of the king to her brother, Jamie, and she knows that her brother was trained to be a soldier, not a leader. Also,
She understands.
Like, yeah, kind of leader. He was kind of gonna inherit,
Casterly Rock.
Casterly Rock, but at some point that's no longer an option, and he just only ever really got soldiering done. And with that, she would have been really the hand of the king because everything her whispers in her brother's ear.
Right, because he ultimately, in some ways, like you were saying, she understands the mindset and knows how to manipulate Jamie when it comes down to it.
Right.
Ghetto Toad says, I like the Hound. Dragon says, the Hound has no respect for knights. And Dragon says, me too, like the Hound. Yeah, the Hound's awesome. I love his scene with Tyrion last week. I hope we get more and more of the Hound as time goes on. So,
the Hound's a fighter. Knights play games, and they make other people go fight for them in his mind. He just goes out and fucking fights.
So Cersei calls him out and says, you're just a soldier, aren't you? You take your orders, blah, blah, blah. And Eddard comes back thinking this is a smart play, but again, it's very Bizarro World Batman villainy where you don't tell the villain your plan. I was also trained to kill my enemies, Your Grace, as he just eye fucks her. You don't say that to Cersei Lannister unless you're killing her. Unless you're actually stabbing her through the heart, you do not say you do not threaten her. And see, the Lord of Light is battling back again and knocking that shit down because he agrees with
me. I gotta find a better way. I keep knocking into it. I'm so fat and I don't have much room back here.
Oh, come on. Fat men need seats too, Joe. We like it just as much as you. The seat might like me a little better, but they like both of us, man. So Cersei says, as was I, Mr. Stark, as was I. She says that line to Ned, you see how she is Jaime's twin. Absolutely. Vaughn says, well, around the same time that the guy who played the Mountain played a part on Spartacus, that could have been why he guessed, why he left. And interesting. Very interesting. At the inn along the King's Road. Oh, we're here already. Oh gosh. Oh my gosh, guys, we're almost to the end here. We're 2 hours in. We're almost to the end here. At the inn along the King's Road, Catelyn is heading back towards Winterfell, and she's sitting in an inn trying to blend in so no one knows who she is. We hear a song guy being like, 7 blessings to you, good folk, and trying to encourage them to drink, and good idea, grandfather, get you drunk, why don't you wait for a song. They just kind of shoot the shit a little while about hearing songs. We get just a feeling that they don't know who Catelyn Stark is, but there are a lot of people from a lot of different houses in this place enjoying themselves. Excuse me. So coming in to join the party is Tyrion and Yoren of the Night's Watch from our last episode. They enter the inn to stay there. They've obviously left Winterfell at this point and heading back towards King's Landing. And Catelyn is heading from King's Landing back, so it's just a good happenstance of meeting. And he asks for a bed for the night, and she says, I'm sorry, my lord, we're filled up for every room. And Tyrion's like, my men can sleep in the stables, but as for me, I don't require a large room. And true, my lord, but we have nothing. Is there nothing I can do to remedy this? As he pulls out his money clip. And this is where we meet him very briefly, but we meet another very interesting character. We meet Bronn.
His head goes up right away. Oh, what's that I see?
You can have my room. And he goes, clever man. You can manage food, I trust. Dine with me, to Yoren. And Yoren says, aye, my lord. So we get the song guy who comes up to them and says, Lord Lannister, may I entertain you while you eat? I can sing of your father's victory of King's Landing.
Oh, well, that's not entertaining to me, kid.
Yeah, he goes, that would ruin my supper. And then right in one motion, he also sees Lady Stark. And he goes, Lady Stark, what an unexpected pleasure. I'm sorry I missed you at Winterfell. Very, very friendly. And then the woman who's running the bar freaks out.
No, and he was very friendly, and he was very polite. Like, absolutely.
Very polite. Especially for, like, not that Tyrion's not usually polite, but he was even polite for Tyrion.
Right.
He was really happy to see her.
Up and, like, totally almost ignores him, right? And like, just starts in.
Right. You've got to figure that they probably had a decent enough relationship, because we never actually saw them before, but from the way he greets her, you get the feeling like they had some positive interactions when he was up at Winterfell before what happened to Bran. Because she was making sure he had plenty of wine in his room. We saw the preparation she was making. She was making sure he had light to read and plenty of wine to drink. So she was taking good care of him. So he probably was really actually happy to greet her and be like, "Oh, hey, how's it going?" Joe says Dragon says, "The night is dark and full of terrors." Joe Ren says, "Look out for Melisandre's shadow babies."
I know, right?
Dragon says, "Bronn is the man." This is Tyrion's "oh fuck" moment. Yes, it is. We're about to get there. So as Joe said, and you're absolutely right, Joe, Catelyn doesn't even make eye contact with him. She just kind of stands up and goes, because the owner of the place is like freaking out, like, "Lady Stark, oh my God, why didn't you tell her we were here? We treat you better." She says, "I was Catelyn Tully the last time I stayed here." And then she starts in, and she starts looking around at all the knights around. She goes, "You,
the Black Bat of Harrenhal, are you still good and true to my father, Lord Stully? And you,
House Went." It's my lady. Yeah, it's House Went, my lady. It's and Catelyn Stark, and you are House Tully of Riverrun. House Went, she is. The Red Stallion of Riverrun's always a friendly banner at my house. And you, Lord Frey, how is Lord Walter? And he hopes your father's presence at his 90th name day. He plans to take another wife, to which Tyrion laughs his ass off.
He's kind of like, "I don't understand what any of this has to do with, hi, how are you, Lady Stark?"
Exactly.
What's your point?
Yeah, he's like, "Oh, isn't it great?"
See the worry on his face.
Yeah, I envy all your father's fine friends, but I don't quite see the purpose of this.
Yeah.
And then she goes into a fucking awesome monologue. She when she gets all intense, there are few actresses in the world that can pull off like the way she delivers this shit. Like, I see why they had to recast Catelyn Stark from the pilot, because no one, I think this woman is Catelyn Stark, and the way she gets into it is crazy. "This man came into my house as a guest, and there he conspired to murder my boy of 10. And then her voice goes crazy. In the name of Robert and the good lords you serve, I call upon you to seize him and help me return him to Winterfell to await the king's justice."
Oh, yeah.
And I wrote, as you guys said, as Tyrion is like, "What the serious fuck is going on here?"
Hits the floor. Even Bronn kind of looks at him like, "Oh, you're fucked. Glad I got that coin first."
Which is a really great visual. They all draw their swords at the same time.
Every single one of them draws down on him.
And
they are with her.
And then we get that wonderful visual as it pans out of Tyrion in the circle with everybody's swords on him.
Like, this is the wife of the Hand of the King, Lord Ned Stark of Winterfell, Lord of the entire Northern Kingdom, which is the largest kingdom in the kingdoms. Like, yeah, this lady barks, everybody's gonna stand up. Like, I'm surprised he didn't lose his head, so they didn't just kill him right then and there.
Vaughn says the look on the Black Bat of Harrenhal's the Harrenhal guy's face was priceless. He said it with pride.
Yep. Oh, they all like, that's a big moment for everybody in that room.
Igor, welcome, my friend. Come into my house, killed my snake. Yeah, came into my house, killed my snake. This little bastard, kill him. It was a really amazing scene and really awesome way to end the episode, where all of them are in his face, and it's a crazy moment too, because we as the audience know that she's way off base here, that she is making a huge. We talked about Arrested Development 2 hours ago. We'll talk about it again. She's making a huge mistake here.
Yep.
He did not do this.
He didn't. It wasn't. He had nothing to do with any of it.
Do Chronic. This could actually lead to a good job for some of these guys in the North.
Yeah. It could.
It could. It's definitely a good situation.
Or it could lead to their death.
All
of them dead.
Oh, yeah, from Conan.
Yeah, right?
Oh, Igor, I missed the reference, but it was from a Conan reference. Come into my house. Killed my snake.
Yep. That's
Sorry,
exactly what it was.
I missed that the first time. I was thinking sand snake for some reason. I'm so Game of Thrones on the mind right now. I'm like, okay, sand snake, sure, whatever, Igor. But yeah, I get that now. Good reference. Oh my goodness! But that is our end of the episode of Game of Thrones. Holy shit, Joe! What a great episode. This to me is this right there with the pilot are the two best episodes so far. The first four.
Yeah.
I mean, the pilot I have a special place in my heart because I think because it's not a pilot, it's the first episode. It used some footage from a pilot, and I think it establishes things, like a lot of things, really well. But in the last two episodes, really a lot of exposition moved the plot along, but some great stuff. But this was just definitely one of my favorite episodes of the first season.
Yeah, I agree.
But Tyrion is a Lannister. Oh my God, what do they all think is going to happen? And yeah, exactly. And a little bit of when it comes down to it, I'm not going to talk about what happens, but when it really comes down to it, this is regardless of how the Queen feels about this little imp, this is the Queen's brother. And you can't just go do this. You can't just go in without complete evidence, without making this completely public at this point. You can't just go kidnapping or taking the Queen's brother to Winterfell to stand trial. It's just without due process a little bit here.
Right.
Catelyn's definitely jumping the gun here. And I don't think Ned will appreciate it too much.
Of course not.
No.
This is definitely a mistake. This is a mistake.
You're making a mistake. You're making a big mistake, Catelyn. So I guess this is a good place to cut off since it's the end of the episode, and we've been talking about this for a while. So Joe, it was great to talk another Game of Thrones episode with you. And,
always great.
You guys.
Always fun.
Yeah, no, I can't wait to talk about the next one this weekend. For any of our Walking Dead fans and Better Call Saul stuff, everything will be a little shifted this week. I will still be doing The Walking Dead on Sunday night, but I'll be doing it from a ski resort vacation type thing, pending internet signal is all good and everything like that. But we're going to make it work somehow. And then Monday night, I'm also going to be there, but I'm not positive if we might push off Saul a day, depending on timing. But we will definitely be back on Friday at some point to do Vikings, and as soon as we know when we're going to do the next episode of Game of Thrones, I think we're both caught up, and I actually have my notes pretty much done for the next episode as well, so we're pretty much ready to do the next Game of Thrones episode when we could. I mean, we could do it. We're not going to, but we could do it right now if we wanted to. So it's just a matter of finding out the right time. So keep an eye out for that, and if you guys are following along with us, you can start to watch that episode now and get prepared for it because we're pretty much there. So that'll be popping up as soon as we possibly can. So thank you guys for tuning in. If you've made it this far and you haven't already, please hit that subscribe button, and please let us know what you thought of this episode and any questions you have about Game of Thrones as we are pushing to the beginning of our next season of Game of Thrones on our rewatch. So let's see another great show, guys. See you next time, Ghetto Toad. You guys are the best. Honestly, you guys are the best. Duke Chronic, this was awesome to catch it live and chat with anyone. It's good to have you here, Duke Chronic, and good to be able to talk to you live. Renwood, Rachel, Igor, Vaughn, a couple other people popped in here a few times, but thank you guys so much for all the comments. Really makes it that much more fun, and this rewatch is great, and I hope we're going to make it, and if we get into when the season starts and we haven't quite finished, we're going to keep going in Season 1. We're not stopping Season 1 until Season 1's done, and then...
Stop talking about
Game of Thrones, don't stop. And then we will, whenever we're done with Season 1, we'll wait to do...
Season 2.
But we're going to do Season 2 after Season 5 is over with.
Yes.
Just so we can do Game of Thrones.
It'll get a little confusing for people.
Right. Exactly. Just so we can do Game of Thrones. But it might end up with timing that we do the last episode of Season 1 after we've done the first episode of Season 5. The timing we might be missing everything by a week here, so we'll have to keep track of that. So, or do 2 in 1 week.
Double dip a week.
We'll double dip 1 week. So Joe, have a good night, my friend. Have a good night, everybody.
Nighty night.
Later.